At 1:57. We'd like to open this meeting for roll call vote, please.
You have to mark them all.
I noticed that.
So, Crystal, would they get that
The machine is open for voting. For roll call.
Thank you.
We are open for roll call.
Okay, turn off the machine. Is it the machine or is it the operator?
Let the record reflect that all members are present except Councilmember Byrd, who is absent.
I'd like to dispense with the pledge and the prayer that was already done. And at this time, at the request of Council Member Sullivan, we'd like to move to 1B, proclamation. And move forward with that. Before you read, I'd like to acknowledge that I have some outstanding educator in the office, Ms. Arthurine Ancolard. Please recognize them being outstanding educators for about 50, 60 years. She's very supportive of all the schools in the Plaquemine. She worked real hard, and she was my counterpart at Phoenix. And I really love what she has done, and very supportive. And she was really concerned about the children of the community in Phoenix on the East Bank. Also, Ms. Gladys Williams. Thank God to be recognized. Raise your hand, Ms. Gladys. She's another outstanding educator out of the Port Sulphur area. And she stayed there for, I ain't saying how many years, but longer than I have, so I'll put it to you like that. And she had a lot of influence on a lot of people's lives in that area as well. And Mr. Gibson also worked at Phoenix and he's known around as an educator. Mr. Gibson, raise your hand, be recognized as an outstanding athlete, as well as a coach and good peacemaker, I should say. Very good, kept the ladies in bed and started fussing with each other. You know how to make them compromise and work together. So I really appreciated those people that being an integral part of the educational system in Plaquemine Parish for the years that they served. Ma'am?
A proclamation declaring September 30, 2017 as Scottsville High School Day in the parish of Plaquemine. Councilmember Trufant Salvant. Offer.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, before the proclamation, our secretary to read the proclamation, I just would like to inform the general public this Saturday and Sunday at the Plaquemine Parish shooting range, we will be getting chills as I speak. We will be celebrating Scottsville High School class reunion, K through 12. If you remember, anybody that my age or older, you remember that there's 3 historical schools in Plaquemine Parish, and Scottsville were one of them. And what we are going to do is, prior to Ms. after the reading of the proclamation, I'm going to ask the alumni, the members of Scottville High School. We have one of our educators from that historical school with us today, and we're going to ask everybody that's associated with Scottville to come up and take a picture. And with that said, Ms. Barbara.
A proclamation declaring September 30, 2017 as Scottsville High School Day in the parish of Plaquemines. Whereas during a bleak era in Plaquemines parish history, 3 segregated schools, Scottsville, Phoenix, and Sunrise, were erected to educate African Americans. The system established these schools with an intent to maintain an inferior system which could have institutionalized a mass of people. However, these schools have proven to transcend the expectations of a system that aimed to oppress. Many educators, politicians, and professionals are products of these 3 great schools. And whereas Scottville High School commenced and welcomed African American students from Happy Jack to Belle Chase, Louisiana, in the year 1955, Scottville High School was located in Scottville, Louisiana, in Plaquemines Parish, which is renamed and currently known as Belle Chase Middle School. To this day, the alumni and graduates hold dearly to the motto, Scottville High School is forever in our hearts, regardless to the renaming of the school. And whereas an all-African American student body also consisted of an entire African American faculty and staff under the leadership of principals Mr. Jones and long-tenured Ms. Andre Lawrence. In the midst of racial injustices, it was with pride that they held teachers in high esteem and respected them as an extension of their parents. A culture of unity and pride was cultivated in every student as they embraced educators such as Ms. Gladys Kosei, Mrs. Harriet Thomas, Mrs. Burdell Spears, Mrs. Shirley Calvin, Mr. Michael Ned, Mr. Burnell Spruell, Mr. Johnny Williamson, and Mr. Clarence Marchand. And they salute all that have contributed to the education of students of Scottsville High School that are no longer with us. May they rest in peace. And whereas it was not until a lawsuit filed by the United States government against the Plaquemines Parish School Board in 1966 that Judge Herbert Christenberry ordered the desegregation of the Plaquemines Parish School Board public school system in the 1966-67 school year. Judge Christenberry ordered that 1st, 7th, 10th, 12th, and 2 other grades chosen by the board to be desegregated regardless of the race. A subsequent order required all grades from kindergarten through 12th be desegregated for the 1967-68 school year. The superintendents of Plaquemines Parish School System during that era was Mr. S. Monclay and Mr. L. M. Tinsley. And whereas subsequent to this judgment, the last graduating class of Scottville High School was in 1971, which ended the existence of Scottville High School, home of the Apache Indians, whom proudly wore the colors of green and gold, and were also among an elite group of African American athletes that have ushered twin brothers into the Hall of Fame at Grambling State University. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, John L. Bartholomew, and by concurrence of the Plaquemines Parish President, Amos Cormier, representing the Plaquemines Parish government, that it hereby declares September 30, 2017 as Scottville High School Day in the parish of Plaquemines.
I would ask that all of my colleagues join me to the middle of the floor and ask the alumni class of Scottville High School at the end of the comments at the end of the comments to come and join us to the middle of the floor for a picture taking.
This time we'll call for a vote, ask the council to do a unanimous second on this item. Anybody opposes, so be it. Also, I want to apologize to Ms. Sides. Ms. Sides, I didn't even know you were in. I couldn't see you. The lady with the hat on and that little pony, that little thing sitting there, I didn't even know you were out. I was just looking around, so I apologize. Ms. Sides is one of the outstanding educators in Plaquemines Parish, not only in the schools and the classroom, but also in the central office. We really like to appreciate Ms. Sides for doing an outstanding job in her career and dedicating her whole life to the education of the kids on the West Bank, especially on the West Bank, Scottville to Belle Chase in that area, and also the kids in the Phoenix area, because she was also in the central office taking care of the people in Phoenix and down in Sunrise and Port South as well. At this time, Ms. Sullivan, turn it over to you.
Yes, before you move on to Mr. Lapine comment, I just want to say that second year when the public school system was integrated. I enrolled at Belle Chase High School, and that's where I first met my colleagues one of my colleagues over 40 years ago, Mr. Benny Roussel. And I just want to commend him for, at that time, all of the white kids fleed, they was in white flight from the Belle Chase High School. And I can tell you, the Roussels was in large numbers. That was one of the families that elected to stay. And so I just want to acknowledge that in public forum. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Lapine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and you stole my thunder there because you didn't introduce Miss Melvina Sayers, and I saw her sit. Of course, I got new glasses, so I'm trying to see it back there. But Miss Melvina Sayers had a profound effect on my life. She was my English teacher for my 4th year of high school. She also, I think, taught Mr. Black. She might have taught Mr. Rusev. She was there for a long time, but she.
There you go.
But she always had this, and no offense to some of you educators, I really don't know you, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. Miss Malvina always had a sign on her classroom that said enter and exit, and you could not enter on the exit, you could not exit on the enter, and she was very stickler about that, because we tried to do it, and she called us a couple of times, but I just want to thank you, Miss Sayers, for what you've done for me. And you always just say, I love you, baby. Well, I love you, baby. Thank you, Miss Sayers.
Always.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Alvin, for recognizing me and being in that class. Whenever we talk about those days, I always tell everyone that, how I graduated 3rd in that class. And the natural answer is you've got to say, well, how many you had in your class? And the answer was 5. But I did enjoy it. It was like having a private tutor, in the class. In my senior class, I might have had 2 or 3 other students. One was staying in the library, one stayed in the gym, so I had a private tutor. But it was a great time, and I'm glad that the public school systems came back, and today they are going strong in some of the best schools in the state of Louisiana, thanks to the educators in the audience and many more like them. So I'm proud of our system. It has nothing to do with my brother being the superintendent, but they do a good job, and that's why a lot of people live in our community. So thank you for that recognition as well, and best of luck to all of you.
Yes, I would like to also thank the people that's in the audience that was educated, and I would also like to speak to Mrs. Sayers. She never taught me because I graduated in 1960, so I'm a little older. But anyway, she was an influence to all my kids, all my boys. And today, 2 of them are teachers, and it was because Mrs. Sayers. They loved her, and we all loved her, and my wife loved you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, at this time, I would like to recognize, okay, I'm sorry, well, I'm going to relinquish the floor to Mr. Cormier, and then I'll come back.
I just wanted to reiterate the thanks to all of you for your perseverance, your courage, and your fortitude. And also, Ms. Sayers, your husband, we keep him in our prayers, but he had a great influence on me in the recreation department. But thanks to all of you for your courage and persistence and fortitude.
Okay, I would like to ask Ms. Gladys Kosey to come forward. This is one of the very few surviving teachers from that historical school, Mrs. Gladys Kosey. High School can join us for picture taking.
Before we have to vote.
I'm sorry.
So, y'all, come on, go ahead. Everybody, machine is open for vote. Passes 0-0.
It's gonna be long. Today?
No.
She's the person.
And I'm not gonna be there all the time. Oh, absolutely. There we go. My daughter will be open. Pam will be there. She knows where it's
All right, we'll move to the next item.
Item 1D, the Plaquemines Parish Council sitting as the Board of Review. The first category is cell towers. TCP Petco Corporation, B623599. Stebbin Company, B626031. T-Mobile Central, B49943. T-Mobile Central, B501412. T-Mobile Central, B615389. T-Mobile Central, 615488. T-Mobile Central, B616151. T-Mobile Central, B616152. T-Mobile Central, B616948. T-Mobile Central, B616949. T-Mobile Central, 617307. T-Mobile Central, B621918. Oil and gas. Connecticut Midstream Energy, C626676. Texas Petroleum Company, C003350. C00350. C003850. C004300. C006250. C014625. C019600. C021700. C615821. McGowan Working Partners, C618533. Upstream Exploration, C600510. Local Operating Company, C004320. C004340. C613799. C614042. C614485. C616239. C616402. C616404. C617687. C619991. Whitney Oil and Gas, C019630. C606423. C021600. C619348. Runner Resources, C618139. Councilmember Bartholomew.
It's not a resolution. It's Well, we accept putting that before an agenda, and I think the ordinance, we just have to review, to just come in and let the assessor step up.
They need to
Yeah.
their presentation.
Yeah, it's for the assessor to come and do that thing, right?
And then we eventually vote on it after they're through, and anybody who is here to appeal, they have an opportunity to speak also.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bartholomew, President Cormier, council members and administration members. For the record, I am Plaquemines Parish Assessor Belinda Hazel. With me today are Moran Simonson, our personal property supervisor, and our legal counsel, Ellen Dunbar, with the law firm of Peabody, Huft, Thrifley, and Dunbar. Before providing details pertaining to the 2017 appeals, I will take just a brief moment to provide an updated overview of the Plaquemines Parish tax roll for 2017. The work in the assessor's office is ongoing. Changes to the tax roll are constant. Between now and mid-November, our office will stop working for a moment, take a snapshot of the tax roll, and file that snapshot with the Louisiana Tax Commission. The snapshot of value becomes the basis for the tax dollars collected. The snapshot tells us, as a parish, how we are doing in comparison to last year. The tax roll is representative of the pulse of the parish. To compare the difference in the tax roll from 2016 to 2017, it is best to divide the tax roll into three sections, representing the three major property types. Section 1 is public service property, which is for property valued at the state level. It is valued by the state because the properties cross parish lines. Interstate pipelines and railroads and utilities are examples of public service properties. The assessor has no input with regard to the correctness, the fairness, or the uniformity of public service assessments. Our office must patiently wait each year for the September deadline to receive our packet, and public service properties make up almost 1/4 of our tax roll. Section 2 is real property, which is the immovable property, land, houses, commercial and industrial buildings, and other structures like canopies and camps and docks and so forth. Section 3 the third kind, is our personal property, which is the movable property, furniture and fixtures, machinery and equipment, oil and gas wells, rigs, watercraft, aircraft, and so on. Personal property is the largest percentage of the Plaquemines Parish tax roll. If we break all this down, 57% of our roll is attributable to personal property value, 24% to public service value, and 19% to real property value. Those percentages shift as the tax roll changes and shifts. Our real property values increased in 2017 by 10%. Real property values do not typically change in a non-reassessment year. Ours increased. The increase is attributable to discovery on our part and industrial exemption expirations. Our personal property value decreased 3%. The personal property categories which decreased are what you would expect in the downturn of an oil and gas economy: wells, equipment, drilling rigs. Our drilling rig value went from over $3 million in tax year 2015 to just $300,000 in 2016 to just over $100,000 this year. Pipeline values increased and inventory values increased, but those increases are embodied in the appeals before you today. Our public service value decreased 3%. This differs from last year's decline in that it is not the loss of one high-valued barge line moving to Point Capee. As a matter of fact, Plaquemines Parish actually gained some small barges this year. Instead, it is an overall decline, spread more or less across the board. The taxable value estimate provided to the taxing entities during the summer, prior to the receipt of our public service values, was $996 million, which is roughly $67 million in tax dollars for all taxing bodies. That is the amount our office provided for budget planning purposes. The total value that will ultimately be filed with the Louisiana Tax Commission has, to my knowledge, always been greater than the summertime estimates, and hopefully will be this year as well. Running our total number now indicates a final value greater than the estimate, but an overall decline compared to last year's final roll, but of roughly 1%. 1% is stable. And stable is what has been a downturned oil and gas economy is okay. It's good. And that brings us to the business of the day, which is your service as the Plaquemines Parish Board of Review. Today, there are 39 assessments before you for consideration. All 39 are personal property assessments of movable property. The 39 assessments represent 10 different taxpayers. 7 of the 10 taxpayers are oil and gas production or pipeline companies, appealing a total of 27 assessments. 1 taxpayer is a cell tower company, appealing a total of 10 assessments. And 2 taxpayers, the first 2 listed as cell towers on your docket, are actually inventory companies, claiming that they are exempt from assessment, which is an issue legally reserved for the courts to determine. Our office properly advertised the dates of the required public exposure period. Our office provided the required notification to any taxpayer with a 15% or greater increase, and provided the required notification to any taxpayer with omitted property. The tax roll was made available for review for the 15-day required public exposure time period. The public exposure time period began on August 18th and ended on September 4th of this year. My request to you today is very simple. It is that you support our value determinations for the properties before you and allow us, if necessary, to defend our assessments at the next level, which is before the Louisiana Tax Commission for valuation issues. The assessor's office has an extraordinary staff, both real and personal property, and as a team, we work very hard to be fair, to be equitable, and to be uniform. By upholding our assessed values, you are maintaining the integrity of the Plaquemines Parish tax roll. I'm about to turn the podium over to Ms. Dunbar for some additional comments, but I'm going to take a point of personal privilege. The Board of Review has heard the following words, or a slight variation thereof, from my predecessor, Bobby Gravelay, for the last 36 years, and I am not about to break that tradition. The words bear repeating. He would say, the ad valorem taxation system works best when everyone pays their fair share. If deferential treatment is given, it amounts to a de facto exemption. The tax burden shifts, requiring millage rates to increase without a vote of the people. As responsible taxing body custodians, I like to call us stewards, we should never lose sight of our responsibilities and our fiduciary duties. Our current low tax rates put Plaquemines Parish in an envious position compared to other parishes. Plaquemines Parish is, and has been, and will continue to be attractive to homeowners and businesses alike because of our fair share approach, which results in a low tax rate for everyone. That said, as the assessor and as a property owner and a taxpayer myself, thank you for maintaining your tax rate in a year when you had the opportunity to increase it. It is my sincere belief that our low tax rate is key to our stability and to our future growth. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me to make those comments. And I'd like Ms. Dunbar to please come up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I'll apologize in advance. I'm losing my voice a bit, so I'm going to try to be brief. I'm Ellen Dunbar, and I have the pleasure of representing the Plaquemines Parish Assessor's Office and Assessor Belinda Hazel. Under Louisiana law, Assessor Hazel is responsible for listing and assessing all taxable property that's located in the parish. And what this means is that she has a duty to ensure that all of the taxable property is valued and assessed in accordance with not only the Louisiana revised statutes, but also with the Tax Commission's rules and regulations. This year's assessments were prepared in this same fashion, using field audit information gathered by Visual Leaf Services and values determined in accordance with those rules and regulations. It should be noted that under Louisiana law, Assessor Hazel's assessments are presumed to be correct, which means that the taxpayers have the burden of proving that they are not correct, either before the Board of Review or ultimately before the Louisiana Tax Commission. So therefore, under that legal principle, we ask that the Board of Review affirm Assessor Hazel's assessments today of all of the various companies that have filed appeals. And I'd like to briefly note, just for purposes of the record, that there are two appealing companies, TPC Pet Coke and Steppen Company, who have filed inventory appeals on the basis that they should be exempt from assessment for constitutional reasons. And Louisiana law provides that these types of appeals are required to be determined by the court system and not the parish board of review. So we contend that those two particular appeals were improperly filed in this forum. And lastly, I'd like to read into the record a standing agreement that we have with the taxpayers regarding the pending appeals. In regards to the presentation of evidence, it is the assessor's position that if a taxpayer has timely and properly followed the procedure for filing an appeal with the Board of Review in accordance with the Louisiana Revised Statutes and the Louisiana Tax Commission rules and regulations, and the taxpayer chooses to waive its opportunity to be heard orally at this Board of Review hearing, this waiver will not prejudice the taxpayer's right to appeal the Board of Review's decision to the Louisiana Tax Commission or to present evidence to the Louisiana Tax Commission. And finally, I'd like to introduce into the record this flash drive of evidence that contains all of the information used in support of Assessor Hazel's assessments for this 2017 tax year.
Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Welcome. Comments from the table? Anyway, audience?
May it please the council, I'm Andre Burbank from Jones Walker Law Firm representing Steppen Company. I'm merely here today because Steppen did file an appeal, and I thought it would be out of order if we didn't at least make an appearance to acknowledge that. However, I can echo the comments of Ms. Dunbar that our challenge is a legality challenge as to whether or not this property is exempt from taxation, so we do not have a valuation dispute. So our future appeals, to the extent we cannot work things out, which we hope to continue to do with the assessor, our future appeals will be in district court. So thank you.
I am Melinda Smith, and I am here representing Whitney Oil and Gas. Whitney has been working very hard to clean up these tax records, and I would like to thank the assessor's office. We've worked together to clean up these due to the the impact and the time-consuming efforts of cleaning up these records. We are requesting to continue to work with the assessor's office to remove certain taxable items from the 2017 roll. All of the books have been closed. So thank you very much for letting me be here today.
This time we'd like to exclude under cell inventories 1 and 2, excluded from the vote at this time. We'll take the rest of them in global. Okay. So I so offer, as stated, I offer the rest in global. Is there a second? Is there a second? Dan?
Yes, sir. As indicated by the assessor, I think there's two, sort of they're in two groups. believe that the assessor could clarify number 1 and 2 there appears to be an issue with the manner in which the appeal was taken, as opposed to 3 through 12, which the appeal was taken in the correct manner. It's just the issue of valuation.
Correct. 1 and 2 are issues that are constitutional issues about whether or not a property is exempt, and the rest are all valuation issues. So the valuation issues are what is before you today.
So I think you should handle them separately. 1 and 2, they're not really challenging valuation. So you essentially reject their appeal on the grounds they're not challenging valuation. 3 through 12, you would consider them either in globo or individually as to whether or not you believe that the assessor's valuation was or was not accurate, but you should handle them separately.
Are there any objections to taking 3 to 12 in global table? Everything, so be it. We'll offer those in global. Machine is open. Yes, sir. Passes 8-0. Now we go to 1 and 2. We're going to deny 1 and 2 at this time. Ms. Hazel? Ms. Linda Hazel? We have denying 1 and 2, all right? Yes.
1 and 2, if your legal counsel needs to tell you whether it's an actual denial or not, it's...
Oh, we're deferring then. We're just going to defer it.
they should-
The issue,
It's,
the issue,
So no vote. I don't know. Go ahead.
the issue is not,
They're not challenging valuation, which is what y'all generally have the authority to do. So that you would reject the appeal for number 1 and 2 because they're not putting the issue of valuation before you. They're putting the issue of taxability before you, which is not an issue that y'all have, a jurisdiction that y'all have. He's correct that their venue would be the court if they believe that they were not taxable for whatever constitutional reason. So y'all would still need to reject the appeal on the grounds that it doesn't question the valuation issued by the assessor.
That's correct. I was just looking for that clarification that it's not being rejected for value, but it's being rejected because they were filed in the improper form.
I so offer. Is there a second? So Rousseau, second? So Rousseau has second. Question from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Oh, the motion is to reject, so you'll vote yes to reject.
if you want to.
If you want to reject. Passes 7-1, abstention from Councilman Black. At this time, we move to, we have to vote on the oil and gas. We do all of them in global if there's no objections from the table. Any objections from the table? Hearing none, we'll do those in global. The machine is open. I offer a second by Ms. Sullivan. The machine is open. Passes 7-1 with abstention from Councilman Black. Got to take care of you, Ms. Hazel. You have a blessed day. At this time, we will move to executive session.
Number 1, receipt of attorney-client privilege communication in regard to the cost overruns associated with the Buras Oyster Hatchery Project, LRS 42:17A10, Attorney Shane Landry, Councilmember Williams. Number 2, in regard oil spill by the oil rig Deepwater Horizon in the Gulf of Mexico on April 20, 2010, U.S. District Court, Eastern District of Louisiana, MDL number 10-2771, Section J, Councilmember Roussel. Number 3, West Feliciana Parish Government et al. Versus State of Louisiana, Office of Motor Vehicles et al., case number C-661532, Section 25, 19th Judicial District Court, Parish of East Baton Rouge, State of Louisiana, LRS 42:17A2, Attorney Dana Garrett, Councilmember Black.
It has been offered by Ms. Williams, seconded by Councilman Roussel. Any questions from the table? Audience, the machine is open. Passes 8-0. We'll go into executive session at, what the time on the wall here, the clock? 2:37. Call the council meeting back to order. After executive session, there was no action taken in executive session. At this time, we'd like to ask the table to have any withdrawals or deferrals. Mr. Black, Councilman Black? Okay, Councilman Levine, you have any? Councilman Juno? Mr. Roussel? Mr. Salva, Alder?
Yes, I have one.
Keep yourself in there. Salva? H. Carl, you have any?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, 4B, defer.
4B,
Yes, sir.
okay.
686, defer.
Deferred 686.
See, 6B and C, defer.
6B and C.
And as of right now, deferring W.
W.
That's all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Williams? I'm sorry, hold up. Salva?
Yes,
You got a key in. Six F. Councilman Black.
Yeah, I'll be deferring D as in Delta. 6D as in Delta.
That's it?
Sir?
Big part.
Yes, sir.
Councilman King.
I'm going to defer 7E. Good.
7E.
Can you repeat, sir? I'm sorry.
Key yourself in, please. Ms. Williams?
I just wanted Mr. Levine to repeat his, I missed him.
7E.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Bartholomew?
I'd like to, go ahead.
Can you please defer 6I, 6K, and 7J for Councilmember Byrd?
Okay, 6H,
No, I and K,
I and K.
and 7J.
7J. Let me, P, deferred. Yes. Q, is Q replacement? Is positions already funded?
Yes, it is.
All right, I'll take that back, we're gonna go for that one. R, deferred. T, deferred. V, deferred. Okay, that's all I have. Do I need to repeat? All right, let me get back. Six A6 deferred. 6B is deferred. 6C is deferred. 6D is deferred. 6F is deferred. I is deferred. K is deferred. P is deferred. R is deferred. T is deferred. U is deferred. V is deferred. W is deferred. And 7E and J is deferred. Okay, 4B is deferred. I'm sorry about that. With that, we will move expeditiously through this agenda. Mr. Mr. Cormier, you want to move now or later on your dedication, on your time for response?
Your pleasure.
Well, the reason I'm asking, because we have some other commitments going on through there, so if you want to...
Your pleasure.
Okay. Well, let's go through most of the agenda first. Bids and advertisement, please. Right? Okay. Try. Go ahead. Try now.
Hi, I'm Brenda Stanford, Blackman's Parish Purchasing Agent. A resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing valves for a period of 1 year for use by the Water Sewage Department. After due advertisements, bids were received September 19th from the following: Consolidated Pipe of Metairie, Semsco of Metairie, Tiger Equipment of Belchase, Fluid Process of Harahan. Mr. Robert Morgan, Superintendent of Severn Trent, recommends the acceptance of the low bid of Semsco.
Can we do all those in global?
I don't have an objection.
And by the table? Any objections? Let's do them all.
So do you want me to read them all?
Please.
Okay. I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing bulk diesel fuel for 1 year. After due advertisements, bids were received September 26th from Tri-State of Belchase, Gobert Oil of Thibodeau, Retief Oil of Harvey. As the purchasing agent, it is my recommendation to accept the low bid of Gobert Oil. I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of bids for furnishing recreation equipment and uniforms for 1 year for the use of the Recreation Department. After due advertisements, bid was received September 26th from the following: Staples Sporting Goods of Gretna, Rydell Sports of Texas, Pyramid Sporting Goods of Florida, School Specialty of Wisconsin, BSN Sports of Texas, S&S Worldwide of Connecticut, and Bill Fritz Sports of North Carolina. As the purchasing agent, I recommend the acceptance of the low bid of Staples Sporting Goods, the low bid of Rydell Sporting Goods, the low bid of Pyramid Schools Products, the low bid of school specialty, the low bid of BSN Sports, and the low bid of SNS Worldwide for the items detailed within the resolution.
Thank you. All of our net standards and the requirement for the material to be asked to sell to the parish, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to offer a second by Councilman Roussel. Are there any questions from the table? Audience. Machine is open for vote.
There's one vote still open.
Passes 8-0. Next item, please. Beer and liquor license. Anybody? Mr. Black?
Yes, I have two. Katie Brosted, 449 Echo David Boulevard, community event, education and awareness. This is Woodlands Conservancy for 11/4/2017, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Special event permit and a alcohol license renewal. Clubhouse Bar and Grill, P.O. Box 7196, which is located at 8133 Highway 23 in Belchase. Debbie Kiefer and Jason Wolf. That's all. Your mic's on there, Brenda.
Mr. Roussel?
Yes, I have one. It's N&L LLC, Lynn Wynn, 10830 Highway 23, Belchase, Louisiana, located in that location for Class B liquor, offer for renewal.
That's it?
That's it.
Councilman Black offered, second by Mr. Roussel for approval of the beer and liquor licenses. Any discussion from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 8-0. Do anyone have any objections to taking all of the construction application and global at the table? Anybody have any objections? Audience, any objections? Hearing none, would you please do so?
Number 1, Hellas Oil and Gas Company, LLC, application number 2017-501, dated July 19, 2017. Jetting operations along existing 4-inch test flow line to locate possible kink in line and replace with 100-foot section of new pipe. Black Bay Field Area Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 2, Freeport McMoran, application number 2017-600, dated August 23, 2017. Install 2-inch flush mount piezometers and 1 temporary observation piezometer for groundwater level monitoring. Former Freeport McMoran Terminal, Port Sulphur, Councilmember Edgecombe. Number 3, Chevron Pipeline Company, application number 2017-619, dated September 7, 2017. Anomaly repairs and line lowering along Venice Multiples Pipeline, Yellow Cotton Bay, Councilmember Williams. Crescent River Port Pilots Association, application number 2017-642, dated September 15, 2017. Dredge existing access slip, install new 30x30 platform to relocate existing sewage treatment plant, and install temporary mat access road. CRPPA's Pilot Town Facility, Councilmember Williams. Stratum Engineering, LLC, application number 2017-649, dated September 19, 2017. Drill 1 soil boring for proposed residence, 14515 LA 23, Belchase, Councilmember Edgecombe.
Offered by Ms. Williams, second by Councilman Edgecombe. Any questions from the table? Audience, machine is open. Passes 7 with 1 abstention with Councilman Black. This time we move to 7C and D in global. If there are no objections, hearing of none, we'll move to C and D. B is deferred.
7C, District 1 update, Councilmember Bartholomew. And 7D, District 2 update. 6-7?
Still on 4C.
My apologies. Like 6-7. It's been too long.
C and D.
Okay. William Hall, TLC Novelty Company, Inc., fireworks stand renewal, 8480 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Lapine. Randy Guggenheimer, new residence in a floodplain, 108 Deer Range Lane, Myrtle Grove, Louisiana. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Offered by Councilman Lapine, seconded by Ms. Solvent. That any questions from the table? Mr. Rousseau?
Call question.
Question has been called. Machine is open.
Looking inside there.
It passes 8-0. Item 5.
Introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
Councilman Black.
Yes, I have one, I'm gonna come back to it later in the meeting, sorry.
Ms. Williams.
In ordinance to provide for the acceptance of donations by the Fort Jackson Museum and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
H. Call.
In ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Empire Floodgate Pump Station Project, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Set. Set, Mr. H. Call. Yes, sir. Mr. Rousseau.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president or his designee to advertise for requests for proposals/qualifications from benefit consultants, insurance brokers to provide insurance to Plaquemines Parish government for employee health insurance and benefits, property and casualty insurance, liability insurance, and for any and all other insurances for 2018, authorizing and directing the parish president to submit all proposals received to the parish council for review and approval and otherwise to respect thereto.
That's it.
No, I have an ordinance to amend the 2017 manpower structure and operating budget and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Read it for me, if you don't mind. That's it, Mr. Rousseau. Solvent.
Yes, an ordinance to amend a 5-year capital improvement plan, permit plan new Myrtle Grove Pump Station Project in the 2017 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Coastal Zone Management Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's it.
Councilman Lapine.
A resolution to elect the chairman of the Plaquemines Parish Council for the year 2018, to otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to elect the vice chairman of the Plaquemines Parish Council for the year 2018, to otherwise provide with respect to. That is all.
What would you mean by it, please? I have several.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to negotiate, sign, perfect, execute, enforce, and settle the matter of Espadron versus Banker et al., number 59-447, C/W60-331, C/W60-332, 25th Judicial District Court, Division A, on terms and under such conditions as might to him seem most reasonable and in the best interest of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance providing for the retention of counsel to pursue claims on behalf of Plaquemines Parish government for damages and/or civil penalties owed to the parish by various pharmaceutical manufacturer companies, wholesale pharmaceutical distributors, and/or pharmaceutical distributors in order to protect the parish's interest and recoup monies expended by the parish as a result of damages incurred as a result of the acts and/or omissions of various pharmaceutical manufacturers companies, wholesale pharmaceutical distributors, and/or pharmaceutical distributors, including any pending and future litigation related to opioid production and/or distribution and/or compromise or any settlement of such claims. A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish Community Agency to prepare the necessary application to the Louisiana Workforce Commission receiving the Community Services Block Grant Funds for the program year 2018 and authorizing the president of Plaquemines Parish government to sign and submit said application and contract. A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish Community Action Agency to prepare the necessary application to the Louisiana Housing Corporation for a grant to provide utility assistance to the residents of Plaquemines Parish for the fiscal year 2018, and authorizing the president of the Plaquemines Parish government to sign and submit said application and contract. A resolution authorizing the parish president on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish Council to certify to the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development that the Plaquemines Parish government has complied with all FHWA and DOTD requirements in 2017 relative to bridges located in Plaquemines Parish under the Plaquemines Parish government jurisdiction. An ordinance appropriating monies for the maintenance and operations of drainage servitudes, including but not limited to the cutting, cleaning, and redigging of all drainage ditches and other drainage servitudes in Plaquemines Parish.
Okay, at this time we'll conclude the introduction. We'll move to item 6, the ordinance and resolution on the second reading and final passage. With that, we're going to defer 5. 6A5 will be deferred. Okay. Go ahead.
6A1, an ordinance to amend and as amended re-adopt section 17.5-2 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances relative to fees for use of parish government facilities and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Lapine.
Councilman Payne offers.
I'd like to offer for discussion only, please.
A second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Juno.
Wow.
Go ahead, Councilman Lepine.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you, second by Councilman Juno. Would you want to talk, Mr. Lepine? Key back in. Key in. All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is an ordinance that, it's a work in progress, actually. This is to evaluate the buildings in the parish and to see if we can increase some of the fees of not the local people, not the parishioners, the people who come from out of the parish who use our facilities. So I want to make that statement very clear. This is still a work in progress. One of my colleagues had we had a discussion, and it's come to our attention that some of these buildings have lacked some of the maintenance that over the years has given us trouble. So I'm not going to put anything together. I want to open a discussion to all my colleagues. Again, this is something that we are looking into, if we can increase the fees for our parish personnel who use our facilities. And it will not affect any of the fees that are set forth right now for parish employees. So I'd like to open the floor to some of my colleagues who would like to speak or talk, and after that we'll be deferring this item. Thank you, Mr.
Yes, my only concern is I'm looking at some of the fees in here, $2.50 an hour, or $15 per day, or $5 flat rent. When you start getting into $2.50 an hour, the administrative cost just to collect the fees and the paperwork just to rent it out is going to cost more than what we're going to collect. So I think you need to evaluate where we're headed with this, because, well, it really doesn't matter. Maybe it should be free for seniors. My point is that to charge $2.50 an hour and have an administrator, have to bill and all of these things, it costs more than that. It costs about $50 to generate an invoice in government today. So my point is we shouldn't be doing things that's going to cost us money.
Sarah?
Okay, my only concern would be that, I'm just wondering about, would we be discriminating if we set prices for out-of-town individuals compared to just the parish residents? Because just say, for instance, now if I were to go rent a building in Gretna or whatever, I don't think I'm gonna be charged because I don't live there. I'm just asking a question. I'm not sure if it's constitutional to do that.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I think we need to do a little more research and homework when we do fee increases. We just had an incident with the fee increases for movie production and filming in the parish. That's really caused a lot of backlash from that particular industry. And instead of just arbitrarily creating fees and increasing rates and whatnot, I would ask that we do a little more research with surrounding parishes and other municipalities to make a more educated approach to doing this. I'm not sure really what the best rate is for, say, the auditorium. I have no idea. I'm not an expert in that field, but I would try to get some type of either committee or whatever with Director Giles and whoever else to maybe look into that. Because it seems like we keep coming back and forth in this council quite a bit, readjusting fees and rates, and instead of having something that's set for a period of time. So that's all my only recommendation.
The permit is addressing the movie business aspect. And I directed them to look up within this area, this region, to see what everybody else is charging them, and to come back with a comprehensive program that's compatible to the surrounding parishes. So they're already involved in doing that. I don't know about the community center, but that is being done. After a while, that's since you gave me the direction to do that, Mr. Black.
Just a recommendation.
No, you said you be meaning something you got under the backside. I told him to do that. He ain't did that. Yeah, let's be giving up. Just kidding. I'm sorry. Councilman Lapine?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Mr. Russo exactly. We are giving away a lot of resources that we're giving a building away for a cheap price, and we need to evaluate that too. But right now, again, with Mr. Black, it's a work in progress. We're trying to figure out with some of the building superintendents, we're trying to look out for some other government entities. And Ms. Semmler, you're all right about you wouldn't be charged if you went to a surrounding parish, but I'm talking about a government entity. We're a government entity, we own the buildings, so if you're Plaquemines residents, you afforded that rate that we always kept. Now, same thing if I went to the Jefferson Parish Library, because I'm a Plaquemines resident, it's going to cost me more to go to Jefferson Parish because it's part of the government. So I understand your concerns, I understand that people call from out of town, but if we put our heads together and we work with the building administrator and we try to get justified fees, and that's my point. Let's hammer it out and see which way we need to go. So, I would welcome any more questions or? Yeah, okay.
Legal? Yes, sir. There is precedent for charging out of jurisdiction users of parish facilities. The logic being that those facilities are supported by the taxes that are generally paid by in-resident. For example, there are a number of places where if you're a parish resident, you show your license, you can dump at the parish dump for free. Where if you don't reside within the parish, you have to pay a tipping fee. The idea being that parish facility, you as a parish resident are already paying for that facility because you're paying your local taxes. So just to put your mind at ease.
Councilman Gino?
Yes. No matter what you do, if people's got cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, they're going to go get the auditorium and they're going to get charged for us in the parish, and they're going to bring out other people from outside the parish. So we're going to have to get the legal department to look at this correctly.
Sarah?
And I agree, Mr. Juno. I think you're absolutely correct, because I think that policy is going on right now. But still, I thank you for that interpretation of the law. But to move a little bit further down the highway, I think Councilman Lapine touched on it earlier. I think out of the 5 or 6 buildings that we have, I think I've attended an activity at least 5 of them, a wedding reception of some sort, and it was always interrupted by a broken air condition. And here you are all dressed up, and then you have to sweat it out. So if we could, along with trying to adjust the fees, I want to suggest to Director Giles that maybe he could look into bringing those facilities up to par. Because I don't think anybody's being reimbursed if you have a wedding reception there and the air conditioning unit goes out, you just sweat it out and you just up the creek for your money. So I would ask Reverend Giles to look into and bring those facilities up to par. Thank you.
Any other comments? Audience? Okay. Mr. Green, deferred. Next item, please. 680.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, Board of Louisiana, the West Bank Levee District, Plaquemines Parish, and Plaquemines Parish Government to grant authorization for and right of entry for construction for the West Bank and vicinity Mississippi River Levee, Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, West Bank and vicinity armoring, WBV-ARM-10 System Armoring, Reach, WBV-MRL 3.2 Bell Chase to Oak Point Baseline Stations, 310 plus 00 to 444 plus 00 Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. Project for Mississippi River Levee, flood and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Juneau.
Excuse me, Mr. Juneau, would you do 3 and 7 as well, or do those in global added with that?
Sure.
Thank you.
And ordinance, number 3, an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the...
That's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you can read the
But we can-
No, it's not. It's different.
the last 5 on the
Yeah. You want to do them separate, Mr. Juneau?
No.
Okay.
Just read the last 5 lines. 4 lines.
So they're different? Let's just go ahead and,
I've got it.
okay.
WBV-ARM 11 System Armoring Reach, WBV-MRL 5.2 and WBV-MRL 6.1 English Turn, Bend to Bell Chase Baseline Station, 0 plus 00 to 255 plus 25 Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. Project for Mississippi River Levee flood and hurricane protection purposes and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black. And number 4. Number 7. WBV-ARM 03 System Armoring, Reach WBV-MRL 1.2B, Augusta to Oakville, Baseline Station, 512 plus 68 to 560 plus 40, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. Project for Mississippi River Levee flood and hurricane protection purposes and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Brussell.
Offered by Councilman Juneau, second by Councilman Black. Any questions from the table? Audience, sheet is open.
I do have a comment. On the thing.
Question you call. I'm going to give you just a statement after.
Thanks, sir.
It passes 8-0. I'll yield to our Councilmember Black for his comments at this time.
Yeah, I just want to, all right, thank you. I just want to point out, I'm sure the Gazette may print something or constituents may call. We just had a brand new levee, as you see down Main Street. It goes from New Orleans Parish line all the way to Oakville. They will be tearing up the top of that levee and quite a ways down on the non-river side. That's for armoring. There's no parish money involved in it, but it's a process that has to be done to protect from any water that topsides the levee, that the levee won't degrade. So we have a beautiful levee. It's going to get tore up a little bit. So I want the constituents to know that nobody messed up. This is just part of the process of honoring that particular levee. So that's all.
4, please.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levee District to appropriate new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easements and new temporary work area easements in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06B.5 Magnolia Pump Stations, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee flood wall drainage, flood access, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Salvant offers their second. I'll second it. Ms. Salvant.
Yes, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. In March 2017, the council approved an appropriation for the easement to the Magnolia Pump Station. And at that time, it was approved within that appropriation, there was 2 driveways that was to be part of the easement. And what happened was, the DOTD studied the core design and determined that the width of the driveway was not wide enough. So this is the reason for this appropriation here today, because we are trying to accommodate the widening of those easements. So if you have any questions regarding this legislation, we have Mr. Ari Marks in the audience, and he can perhaps address any of your concerns.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, Mr. Morris, can you just clarify for us, because when we do work in this area, you hear the term flood wall quite a bit, and in this ordinance, it has levee flood wall listed in it. Can you just clarify that for us?
Yeah, that's Ari Marks. I work for GCR and consultant to the parish. There's a flood wall on the sides of the pump station. It's not, the purpose is not a flood wall, and there's not a flood wall where you're appropriated right now. That is just a access easement. That is the typical language that the Corps uses on the perpetual easements in the case that they have to go back in the future for some reason that they want to have those rights in place. But there's no plan for a flood wall in the area that you are appropriating right now.
Okay, I just wanted to make some clarification on that particular term, so thank you.
I understand.
Any more questions from the table, audience? Scene is open. Thank you, sir. Passes 8-0. 5, please. No, we have to do this.
An ordinance to declare the millage rate levied upon the dollar of the assessed valuation of all property subject to ad valorem taxation within Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana for the year 2017 in accordance with Article 7, Section 23C of the 1974 Louisiana Constitution and the Louisiana R.S. 47:1705B, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
And offers a second. Ms. Williams?
A second.
Hello? Any comments?
No, sir.
Any comments from the table? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 8-0. Next, please. 7. That's 7. Finish with 7. B is deferred. C is deferred. I'm sorry, B and C is deferred. E. What is E? Yeah, E.
An ordinance to amend the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances to include District 1 within the enforcement jurisdiction of the Health Department for purposes of evading blighted vehicles. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I'd like to offer, is there a second? Is there a second? Councilman Black seconds. What that does is put us on the same page with everybody else in the parish, because we had several complaints in subdivision and around home, people storing junk cars and all that kind of stuff on their property. And the Board of Health told me they couldn't do anything about it because we had ordinance. So we're doing away with that to put it as being not in compliance with the ordinance. So that's why. Councilman Black?
Yeah, my particular ordinance doesn't have a body. Do we have, any amendment to the preamble?
Shane?
Yeah, actually,
All right, Shane?
okay. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think I sent you an email yesterday, perhaps you didn't get it. I was to defer or withdraw this.
Let's just defer, go to the next council meeting and get it done.
Yes, sir. That's what we do, yeah.
Hey, Ms. Sullivan, you wanted to, go ahead.
My question is, why was the East Bank excluded from all other parts of the parish?
Well, I'm assuming there was a long time where everybody was doing junkyards in the back door there, and across the waters, and they had permission not to be included in that. So it came up, and we didn't know that. At least I didn't know it was a difference. So we want to put it online with everybody else.
Okay.
All right, that's the only
Thank
issue.
you.
Next, please.
6G, an ordinance to fund the cost overruns associated with the Bureau's oyster hatchery project and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
I'm sorry. Ms. Williams?
Yes, I offer with the changes that are being passed out.
Is there a second? I'll second. I'm sorry, Mr. H. second. It's too slow for me, Mr. H. I ain't been on. Come on now. Ms. Williams?
Yes, these are the same changes that I stated at the last meeting. This is an overrun of a project. We're going to take $300,000 out of unreserved, undesignated fund balance.
Leo?
Yes, sir. On item 6A5, it's my understanding that's the millage setting ordinance, but that's been set for consideration at the October 26th meeting. I think it was just inadvertently included, so in order to sort of undo that action and make sure y'all take that up then, y'all need, well, if y'all already voted, what you need, someone's going to need to make a motion to reconsider the vote. That will have to be done, and then once you reconsider the vote, then you can defer it.
Okay. Administration? On the oyster hatchery?
Right, the arch, yes, as Ms. Williams said, there was an overrun, soil conditions were different than what the contractor thought, and that led to considerable delay and added expenses, and there was also some issues with the Federal Labor Department and the prevailing wage laws and categorizations of certain individuals and the type of work that they were doing and the wage they were supposed to receive. And all of these things added cost to the project. And so this appropriation will allow us to make things right with the contractor, and then we'll deal with whatever ancillary issues exist after that.
Any other questions from the table? Audience? She was open. Passes with 7-1, one abstention by Councilman Black. This time there's a motion to reconsider item 5 that was voted on a few minutes ago. Mr. Russo offers as a reconsideration, a second. And just as we stated, the reason for that we're taking this up on, going to be taken up on October 26th. So we'd have to hold off till then to approve. So there's a motion for reconsideration. Any discussion from the table? You want to speak to yourself? Audience, machine is open for reconsideration. Passes 8-0. Motion now is to defer item 5. Any question from the table? Audience, it's deferred. Next item, please.
In ordinance to amend the 2017 operating expenditure budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto, Councilmember Bartholomew.
I don't know what that is. Pass over that one, go ahead, next one. J.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 operating revenue budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise provide with respect thereto, Councilmember Williams.
Williams offers, that second? Is that second? Councilman, they should call them seconds. Mr. Roussel? Comments, Mr. Roussel? You have a comment?
Nobody, am I recognized now?
Yes.
This just substantiates the fact that we have collected less money this year, $5 million less, and it's taking that out of the budget to show that we are reducing the revenues by $5 million.
Williams?
That's exactly what I was going to state. Mr. Russo beat me to the punch. This is something that was deferred at the last meeting. Got with Tommy Serpass, thought the numbers may have been different. Tommy feels confident that this is going to come in around these numbers, so he advised that it's good to go with these numbers.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I'm assuming this requires a 2/3 vote. BP funds? Appropriation of BP funds? Mr. Levine, you want to be up here for this?
Are you finished? I'm sorry.
I don't know if anybody asked the question.
Yeah, Mr. Roussel has something to say.
What you said?
Mr. Roussel?
What you said?
I didn't say anything yet, I'm not.
You through?
Okay, as I stated that the revenue is down by $5 million, unless the budget would be cut, and I don't see any way that the budget would be cut by $5 million between now and the end of the year. This is a use of BP money, which, we really don't have an alternative. And I'd like the finance department to chime in on that because of the fact that, I'm opposed to using BP money on recurring expenses. And BP money, to me, is not a recurring revenue stream. However, sitting here at the end of September, not having $5 million to balance the budget, this is the only funds that we have to comply with the law to balance the budget unless someone at the table knows where else to get it. And if you have those suggestions, I'm willing to listen and perhaps change my vote, but I'm in a box on this one.
Mr. President?
Thank you for the question, Councilman Russo. And
No, well, you turn off.
I will yield to admin 3.
All right.
one thing I can say, Councilman Russo, is we can frame this different ways, and we've had the debate about in the private sector, this would be defined as a recurring revenue stream. What the real problem is that, and it came up earlier today, the real problem is there was a recurring debt to the tune of $8.8 million a year that this parish, Plaquemines Parish government, was saddled with. That debt we've been paying for since, for example, on one of the bonds, in 2013, the payment was only $100,000. In 2014, the payment was only $100,000. And then amazingly in 2015, when my father's administration came in, the bond payment jumped up to almost $1 million. This goes across the board, but this recurring liability was created. So now we have a recurring debt with no recurring, and that was part of the reason why the settlement with BP was structured that way, because I saw it as having a recurring revenue to offset the recurring debt that Plaquemines Parish government was settled with. But there would be another way to tackle this issue, even though I think this is the most logical, and I certainly would request your support on this issue. And incidentally, did we have the most recent version of the ordinance? I've got an old copy, so. The other way to do this, and we touched on this briefly. Okay, perfect. Okay. The other way to do this, another way to phrase it is this. This council voted to tax the people of Plaquemines just today to pay off Plaquemines Port Harlem Terminal District debt. And there's a risk involved there. And the risk is this, that no one is going to come in here and try to take over Plaquemines Parish government, because nobody wants to be burdened with the responsibilities, the duties, and the jobs that the parish government has to the citizens of Plaquemines. When it comes to the Port Harlem Terminal District, that's not the case.
Point of order.
The question I'm responding to is Councilman Russo's question about the finance.
Excuse me. What's your objection, Ms. Williams?
I think we need to remain on a point of order.
What is your point of order? That's what I'm trying to ask you.
This legislation is about the deficit in the revenue related to BP funds. Mr. Russo's question was, is there any other solution? It doesn't have nothing to do with the court order. I'm not trying to be rude, but I just...
And that's where, Councilman Williams, it does, because under the charter, you have the authority to take money from any district and use it as fit, provided it's not contrary to law. And that's my point, is that the reason why, and this goes to big picture finance for parish government and parish districts within the government, is that historically, no one's going to come in. There's no threat of the Port of New Orleans coming in and taking over Plaquemines Parish government. Nobody wants to deal with.
Excuse me, Mr. President, but it has to be related to funding, to where she can get the money that she needs to do. It's not to deal with the port that's on that side of it. It's just to deal with the mechanism of the funding of the port relative to their finances.
Okay, I think Councilman Russo didn't think, but I would request your support of this bill, this ordinance.
Okay, let's see. Councilman Black?
Yeah, I got a couple items just to address from those comments, and I'll...
Excuse me, Ms. Williams, would you object to calling the question?
No, that's fine. I didn't speak. I didn't want to give way off topic.
I just want to look at, we can call the question since you called for it.
No, that's
She didn't call for the question?
Yes, she did.
Point of order.
No, she called for the question. She called for the question. I'm telling you she did. The chair rules, she called for a question, but now you have it. She rescinded the call for question. Mr. Black has the floor.
All right, thank you. In the future, can we just make sure the mics are on, because I can't hear way down here. Thanks.
Every time I do.
That's done. All right. Basically, I have a couple comments in reference to the BP funding. You know, the issue with the port, I'm not going to even discuss that one because there is a point of order on that one, so I won't move on that one. But as far as the bonds go and the $8 million debt, that I just want to point out that $25 million of that debt is for the East Bank courthouse at the parish seat. It's for the courthouse. $60 million of that debt is for East Bank levies. So, I mean, if you want to pay that money back and not build a courthouse or build levels of the East Bank, that's fine. But I can't say that.
Excuse me, Councilman, what are you talking about?
Can I call a question, please?
At all times, you have the right. The question has been called by Ms. Williams. Any objections to the question? Any objections to the question from the table?
I object to the question.
Councilman Black object. What's the ruling, Mr.
The reason why I object, I'm gonna say why I objected.
Sure.
I'm just rebutting an argument that was made by the parish president. I'm not trying to ask to have it both ways. The parish president made a comment about the debt that we have and the reason why we need to use this $5 million. I think it's not out of the point of order. I think it is within the topic of discussion, which is why we need to utilize $5 million of BP funds to meet our deficit. He made a point about us having bond debt of $8 million a year that we needed to pay off. I was just rebutting of actually where that money is coming from. So, okay, and that's fine. I just want to know that.
The question that, you finished, Ms. Oden? Okay. The question has been called. Yeah.
So my question is to our legal counsel.
Yeah, the question has been called, I'm sorry. The question has been called. She is up. Passes 7 yes and 1 no by Councilman Black. Next item, please.
The resolution granting conditional approval for a plan of subdivision by John and Bonnie Penapinto of a portion of plots 24 and 25 of the Belle Chase Plantation, Section D, Belle Chase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on the map of subdivision by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., registered land surveyor, dated May 18, 2016, revised August 31, 2017, without cost to Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines. Councilmember Juneau.
Councilman Juneau offers. Councilman Payne, you second? Okay. Any question from the table? Councilman Juneau, you have a comment?
No, I'm just saying that this is done with no cost to none of us, and he's paying all the costs. Thank you.
Any question from the table? Any question, comments? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 8-0.
An ordinance authorizing the parish president, following his recommendation and agreement by the council, to execute a contingency fee contract hiring the law firm of Cosich, Summage, Parasola, and Taylor, LLC, as special counsel to represent the parish of Plaquemines for purposes of pursuing any and all claims for punitive damages available to the parish as part of the pending punitive damages and assigned claims settlement with Halliburton Energy Services, Inc., Transocean Deepwater, Inc., and all companies related thereto, hereinafter collectively referred to as Halliburton and Transocean, in connection with their respective roles in the April 20, 2010 BP oil spill. Councilmember Williams.
Ms. Williams offers. Mr. Hitchcock seconds. Ms. Williams, you have any comments?
I just want to give a little...
I'm sorry, rekey in, please. Okay. Next, Ms. Williams.
Yes, this is just in order for us to have legal representation to obtain our punitive damages from the BP oil spill claims. The prior attorneys that we had no longer represent Plaquemines Parish, and in order to continue in this, we would need legal representation.
Any other comments from the table? Hearing none, the machine is open. Audience, I'm sorry, anybody from the audience? Machine is open. Passes 8-0.
6, and an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Roussel. I'm sorry, Mr. Lapine has second. Finance, comments?
is I'm asking you to lift the high freeze on the water.
Hold on.
One more. I'm leaving you all kind of way. Still not going up there. Try it enough.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
This is simply, I'm asking you to lift the high freeze for a senior accountant with one position, that her last day is today. It's, it's budgeted, but we can't afford to lose another employee. Appreciate you vote on it.
Councilor Black?
Yeah, I know you need the personnel, Tommy, and I support the position. I just want to make sure, because I asked the same question on every position that we have. When we go to the budget hearing in a month or two, is this going to be one of the positions that is going to be on the proposal for layoffs?
Not the layoffs.
I need your mic.
President? Okay.
Probably not for layoffs, but this is going to be the issue when it's due to 2018 budget. In order for us to balance, we always take out all the vacancies at that time. Since this position is just becoming open, then we're going to have an issue because there's no way I'll have it filled by the time we do the 2018 budget. So if we put it on the vacancy list, there is a chance that we still will lose this position. And so if we have another position I'm in the same boat with. So that's just the issue. It won't be a layoff. Like I said, this position probably won't even be hired till next year. But it will probably be on a vacancy list where we'll try to save the money. You'll have to go through that list and see which positions you think are necessary to put back. Just like we did last year. That answer your question now?
Kind of, sort of, but like I said, you are telling me this is a critical need position for your office. So I would just save us the burden when it comes to the budget hearing to not put this on the list.
No, it won't be on it will not be on a layoff.
Okay, I just want to make sure because we go through the process and then we determine that it's not a critical need position and okay, that's fine. That's all I have.
Any other comments from the table? Audience? Tell me what's the salary?
See, the starting salary for that position? Not on?
It's on.
Starting salary is $41,000.
Okay. Any other comments for audience? Machine is open. Pass over. What the pass was? 8-0. Passes. Skip will pass over O at this time.
6Q, an ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Q. Councilman Gino, second. Okay, question from the table? Ms. Williams? I'm sorry, Ms. Williams?
Yes, is this a vacant funded position?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Thank you. Q.
Councilman Black?
No, I'm fine.
Councilman Russell?
We are on queue for filling a vacant position that is funded, correct?
Yes. Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? Machine is open.
still one vote pending.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund operating expenditure budget, Boat Harbors, Pointe-a-la-Hache Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Roussel. Mr. Roussel seconds. What this is for them to take money out of their budget to buy bush hog for their tractor. It's from each different line item that they have in the Pointe-a-la-Hache Marina, so that they can start cutting. The machine is all rotted out, and they say they need to buy one. I think it's like $3,000, $3,500, something like that for the bush hog. That's what that's for. Any questions? Other questions from the table? Comments? Audience? Machine is open. Passes 8-0. X.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund operating expenditure budget, Drainage Stock Shop Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Edgecombe.
Councilman Edgecombe offers, second by Ms. Williams. Okay. Mr. Edgecombe, Councilman Edgecombe.
This is the fuel for the drainage pumps.
Okay, what you say? Sorry. Oh.
Yeah, the funding source would, of course, be the unreserved undesignated. I did ask Mr. Gregg to come here quick in case y'all had any questions about the fuel.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just cut you off. I thought you was finished. I let Mr. Roussel talk, didn't get Greg up. You want to key back in, Mr. Edgecombe? Okay. Shelly, you have anything you want to add? You got to key back in. Greg, you want to come up? That's not his time.
Greg Simpson, Drainage Superintendent, Plaquemines Parish. This ordinance is just to get us through the rest of the year with funding for diesel for the pumping stations.
I'm sorry.
We were budgeted $262,000 for all the stations parish-wide, and we've spent about $30,000 more than that so far this year. So we're actually draining our operations budget to pay for diesel right now.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, you have a blank on line 9. Is that coming from what? Do you need 150 to get through October, November, December?
We're still in hurricane season, and it's been pretty active so far. That's why we're short already.
Okay.
Because of rain events and
I'm going to do the
storms.
math real quick, so we don't have to come back later on and...
You roughly have a quarter of the year left. So it's a little more than a quarter of what's already been spent, and it should be sufficient to get us through.
All right, sounds good.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Yes, sir. Also, while we on the subject of the drainage pump systems, there is an issue with civil service with the hires that Mr. Gregg is looking for. I'll let you brief everybody on that.
Okay, the job posting for the 6 positions came off the board. The advertisement came off the board to be processed by civil service September 5th. It's now 3 weeks and 2 days past that, and I still have not received an eligibility list to start the interview process to hire and fill those positions. And I questioned Ms. Barriosh yesterday about it, and I was told that she was very busy. She was handling them in the order that they came, that the advertisements ended, and she would get to them when she got to them, is verbatim what I was told.
Well, all I can tell you, I can understand where you're going, because I did that with the lifeguard. It took 6 months.
But my main concern is these guys that have already signed their retirement, they're going to leave when their date's due, and they're not going to wait around for their replacements. And I'm worried we're going to be without operators for some of these stations if we don't do something to expedite this process.
Legal, could you advise us what our options are?
I'll take a look at the civil, there are some civil service rules for accelerated, but again, you are, to some extent, at the mercy of civil service, because if you don't process, if the hires are not processed properly, it's going to ultimately create a litigation issue for you. I will endeavor to look into the civil service provisions and get with civil service and see if I can find a way to speed this up. I'll work with Shane on it as well, because I think these are executive branch hires, so that's really where it should be. I'll work with Shane and Peter and give them my thoughts on it, how we can move civil service along.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I'm going to address your comment real quick, but I want to speak a little bit about what Mr. Garrett just said. So we had civil service testify before us at the last council meeting, and it's not the civil service rules that are prohibiting these hires. It's absolutely not. You know, this council has lifted the freeze, has funded positions. The president has authorized civil service to post the positions. He has even directed the director of civil service to not put an end date on the hiring, which is not a violation of any civil service rules. He specifically asked her to put it at the request of the council and of himself, and directed her to do so, to put a begin date when it's posted until filled. She has refused to do that. We have asked her repeatedly to put that date as until filled. She has also testified before the council that she does not turn over any applications if she doesn't receive 3 to 5 applications. So as far as your positions go, it's the same as the meter reader positions. We can't get positions filled, and it's not because of this council or the parish president inability to do their job. It's because we're being blocked by civil service. Evidently, I'm out of order. Good. All right.
Talking about fuel, that's the only thing I'm saying. Talking about fuel.
Well, we don't need fuel, and we don't have anybody to run the machines.
Councilman Juno?
Glad you brought that up, Mr. Simpson. So far this week, I had 2 people call me, told me they went and applied for your jobs, and they hadn't heard anything yet, and they're getting upset. But you do have people that's applying, and they had problems getting there because no one was there when they went the first time, and they had to go back the second time. Thank you.
I call for the question. Question has been called for. I know I did. You want to talk about the fuel? Yeah. Come on.
I will talk for the fuel.
I'm talking about Mr. Lawrence has a question.
That is just fuel.
Question has been called for the fuel. Question has been called for the fuel. Machine, open the machine, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Passes 8-0.
Thank you. Thank you.
At this time, we will revert to the president's comments. Now, Mr. Lawrence, after the president makes his comment, you can come forward and do all the discussions you need to have.
Thank you.
Mr. President? Yes. Who?
She's all set.
Okay. Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Russo?
President, in reference to the time, if you can keep it down to the subject matter of about 10 minutes, it would be appreciated.
I'll go as quickly as I can, Councilman Russo. First, quick updates. Ports Harbor Library. Construction was advertised, as I stated last time. We have the bid opening on Tuesday, October 3rd. It's my belief, I was informed by Mr. Dugat, that there were 5 contractors looking in to put bids up. There was one contractor who posed questions. The engineer Ames Group who's handling this and our legal department answered some of the contractor questions, but we're not going to give legal advice. The goal here is we want to try to encourage as many contractors to put a bid in as possible. The more contractor bids, the better price generally we probably get, but naturally we're pushing forward and trying to keep that moving. West Bank Sewer currently purchasing rights of way. Phase 2A plans are 99% complete. Hope to bid construction phase Phase 2A by end of October. And that's from the Belchaz Water Treatment Plant south to right before East and West Oak Road. Oyster processing in Mount Pure, public-private partnership for economic development in the oyster industry. The CEA between Ameripure and the parish is being reviewed by state and hope to be fully executed within next week. Lease agreement between Ameripure and landowner on Engineers Road projected for end of October. Grand Bayou Dock, we had construction bids received and open due to non-responsive low bidder. It's going to have to be rebid. Engineer of record is doing some redesign and the project will be rebid as soon as possible. Lake Hermitage Road, plans are complete and are being reviewed by state, awaiting another Corps of Engineer permit. Bid documents are being finalized. Hope to advertise in October. A signed permit was mailed to the Corps. The Empire Park is under construction. Good news drainage. I met with Mr. Rick Shred from the engineer that put the cost estimate together. The bids came in over the estimate. FEMA GOSEP has identified and reallocated funds for which PPG has submitted a cost overrun adjustment. This is for Good News Drainage. Overrun currently under review by FEMA with lag time due to FEMA personnel being reassigned due to the recent disasters in Harvey and Irma. Main Street Drainage, awaiting completion of environmental review, awaiting permit approvals from USACE, Corps of Engineers, and Department of Natural Resources, awaiting FEMA approval of Phase 2 funding. Engineers Road drainage plans are at 65% complete and are being reviewed by engineering. Just the drainage, the construction contract was signed. We're waiting on that issue, the waterline project, because Entergy is doing a big investment in Blackman's. It's a transmission project. I attended a meeting on September 27th, yesterday. It was Mr. Mario Saravolo. He's the manager of capital projects of Energy. They're making a big investment in Blackman's down there by Alliance. What Energy is doing is they're creating some redundancy. You can have, instead of that substation being supplied via from the west, I think it's currently being supplied around, it's the feed or somewhere in that area. There's going to be another line that they're trying to run down. So that way if one line goes down, they'll be able to redirect and keep the energy supply going into Blackman's Parish. It's going to create a more stable energy supply. Along those lines, the energy proposal that was put on yesterday I found very, very helpful and good. And then that's the only thing. I want to thank all of you for your votes today on behalf of Blackman's Parish government. We do have a need for some redundancy and some backup within parish government. We're on very lean times, as all of you know. We had an issue where just this week, we were cut down to 2 building inspectors. One of our building inspectors found a higher paying job, and so we're down to 1 building inspector for the whole parish of Blackman's. That created some problems. We're trying to work through them. I'll make it, you can make an analogy to energy. I'd love to have more redundancy, more backup plans. Another way to say it is, like Coach Ogeron would say, we need some second stringers. We need some. The manpower is as we go into first quarter, second quarter, things will be fine. As we go into the third quarter and fourth quarter, it's starting to create some problems. People get tired, people get sick. And so I think you know where I'm going there. In several departments. Prom, we just heard about the pump operators. And we will look, continue to try to work. I do have a meeting set up with one of the attorneys from the Civil Service Board. And, heavy equipment, we're playing six-man football in heavy equipment. So another positive development we have, though, is on Thursday, September 21st, we had a meeting with our Director of Coastal Projects, Mr. Vincent Frelish, and we met with his colleague, John, and I can't remember John's name in St. Bernard, and also President Guy McGinnis. There's a sediment diversion ridge project that we're working in collaboration with St. Bernard. This will create a ridge that will protect Plaquemines and everyone northward to help break down some wave and tidal action. That meeting was very interesting because at the meeting we discussed the trip to DC where we're having, we're wrestling with the Corps over the mitigation issues where the Corps is trying to make us mitigate. The Corps was instructed by Congress. They're finally doing mitigation for the Mr. Go. The Mr. Go caused a tremendous amount of wetland loss in Plaquemines Parish. It wasn't until Hurricane Katrina where they finally started mitigating, and I shared with President McGinnis that to this day, and we were consulting also with our engineers and environmental engineers, to this day the Mississippi River and Tributary Project, and we brought this up at the Boil for the Bayou on September 23rd. To this day, the Corps, the longest running project that we can find of the United States Army Corps of Engineers, has been the Mississippi River and Tributaries Project. It's been ongoing for over 90 years. To date, they have never mitigated for that project. And now I know that this is most people, most environmental scientists would argue that one of the biggest causes for the wetland loss and for a lot of the changes our geography is facing is that the Mississippi River was cut off when they levied it up. And we're going to stay on that issue. We think we might be able to find some traction there. We've raised it to some of the congressional delegation. And please feel free to share that with the community and spread the word. We did have a couple more meetings, but for the sake of brevity, I'll see back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions from the table? Mr. Lawrence, you got something about civil service you want to comment on?
I'll be brief.
Yes, sir.
Made a presentation last meeting for Meadow Grove's drainage system. I heard a lot of things about drainage with access to communication, and I just want to make sure you know we have not received any. Mr. Roussel said he thinks it's an engineering problem. That's all we want is communication, somebody get with us. The drains are still stopped up. Nothing's being done. I waited 4 hours to just say. And one other thing I'll add, and that goes back to my experience with civil service when I worked with the water board. When you have those pump operators, I can tell you what we did. The council comes in or the board comes in and declares it an emergency, we need these operators, and you don't go through civil service and you hire them on a temporary basis, the same ones who apply, and you put them in there until the position's open. It's no guarantee they'll get the job, but at least you'll have a person in the position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Mr. President, you say energy has a big investment in the parish. Could you assure the ratepayers that they're not going to go back to the Public Service Commission and have a special rate increase on the parish? It's just that after Katrina, man, we still paying that bill,
You're right, Mike.
I just want to make sure,
You're correct, Mr. Henry. My energy bill's still up there about $18 a month for old hurricanes, but that's the Public Service Commission. And unless unless we were to do something akin to what Orleans Parish did with having our, there is Entergy New Orleans, which is different from Entergy Louisiana, but that's a big task that, that would take a lot of manpower.
The one that the ratepayer and plant will pay for the investment, that's all. Any other comments? Next, please.
Where do you want to go next? We still need to, yeah, besides that. We have H&O to go back to, and then suspensions and new business. Which way?
Let's go to the one I have, O, please, and H, I thought we did H.
No, we passed over it.
6O, a resolution assigning office space in the Belle Chase Government Complex on F. Edward Aver Boulevard, Building 100, Belle Chase, Louisiana, to the District Attorney's Office and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'd like to bring it up for discussion. Offer for discussion. Still a second? Still a second? Still a second. It dies for lack. Okay. Sergeant, second for discussion only. What we're trying to do, alleviate a lot of problems. We've been going back and forth of actions of litigation with the district attorney's office by needing space. And the council just moved out of this illustrious building in the back, and it has a lot of area, I think, which would be very conducive for the district attorney, since his main office will soon be at the new courthouse in Point Wahash, a new complex that they're building at the Point Wahash area. And hopefully this would alleviate all of the negative actions, law action that's going on between the district attorneys and the parish president. And being available, and the president himself want to stay at the Polish building because of the location of it. And I think we can accommodate both people by doing that and alleviate all the problems that there is in the parish, and also save some money, so we don't have to be paying lawyer fees down the road again. That's the, and I think the building is good, nothing wrong with the building. Council members were in here, they liked it, until their building was fixed, and it's a brand new facility. So that's the why I was doing that. Anybody else have any comments? Minister, President?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And an additional benefit would be the district attorney's third lawsuit against the parish. It would probably be very persuasive to a judge to just would negate it. That's at least one argument, instead of staying, again, continuing on with this third lawsuit that was filed by the district attorney.
Any other comments? Hearing none, it's deferred. Next item, please.
6H or new business?
Uh,
6H also.
That's deferred. 6H is about the employment.
It's the...
No, that's deferred, I'm sorry. Defer that. Deferred, all the funding budgetary items are done to the budget hearing, which is in a couple of weeks. We've sat down and agreed to that. That we would hold off until we have our budget hearing. That's why I wanted to defer that one as well.
7A1, introduction of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought. A resolution amending and as amended re-adopt resolution number 17-134, assigning office space in the Belle Chase Government Complex on F. Edward Aver Boulevard, Building 100, Belle Chase, Louisiana, to various parish departments within the executive branch and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Councilman Black offers. A second? A second, Councilman Lepine. Seconds. Any questions? The machine is open. I'm sorry, what? Question be on for suspension. Okay. Councilman Black? Comments?
I'll wait to hold my comments after the suspension is voted on.
Okay. Machine is open on the suspension.
There's one, yeah.
Six, one, one, one. So that means what? Fails? Pass? Okay. Thought you had to have a majority.
A resolution amending and is amended, readopt resolution number 17-134, assigning office space in the Belle Chase Government Complex on F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard, Building 100, Belle Chase, Louisiana, to various parish departments within the executive branch and otherwise to provide respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Offer.
Second by Councilman Roussel. Roussel, you have comments? No? Administration?
Sir, can I discuss my ordinance?
Yeah, you can. But once you go to the kill, there was the next one before you done Roussel.
That's how it works.
Yes, I went, because Roussel was put up to talk after you.
No, you didn't.
Yes, he did. But he put his name in the queue. I got to press him in to talk.
You didn't.
That's all right. Go ahead, Councilman Black.
Yeah. Let me just clarify something real quick. I'm not trying to argue, Mr. Bartholomew.
No, you need Councilman
All
Black.
he did was press the button to second.
That doesn't work like you press the button to go to be speaking on the floor. That's what this felt. That's what that felt.
I just can explain to you how that system works. I pressed it first.
How are Councilman Black? The agenda is to you.
Okay.
You'll move.
All right. This resolution is basically an amendment to the resolution number 17-134, which was adopted unanimously by this council. I will read off the two sections that are amended. Actually, it's two sections that are added into the resolution. Everything on this resolution is identical to the previously adopted resolution 17-134, except for the following paragraphs. Lines 25 through 30 is an addition, which reads, whereas the Plaquemines Parish Council unanimously adopted resolution number 17-232, enacted on September 14, 2017, resolution number 17-202, enacted on August 10, 2017, and resolution number 17-135, enacted on April 27, 2017, all of which reassign various council officers, administrative officers, and employees from Building 100 of the Belle Chase Government Complex on F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard, Belle Chase, Louisiana, allowing for the required and requested space needed for the adherence to this resolution. And the next paragraph that was added is lines 54 through 60, which reads, be it further resolved of the Plaquemines Parish Council that the administrative officers and employees necessary for the proper administration of the government of the Parish of Plaquemines assigned within the executive branch, namely, the offices and staff of the Parish President, the Director of Administration, the Director of Public Service, the Director of Operations, and the Legal Department shall occupy the office space within Building 100 in the Belle Chase Government Complex, F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard, Belle Chase, Louisiana, no later than October 26, 2017. The reason why we're doing this amendment is twofold. Just to point out that this council, through those resolutions that I just read out, vacated Building 100 to create the necessary space that was requested by the administration and is required for them to operate fully from that facility, and also to put an exact date, a move date on which this council wishes the administration to occupy Building 100 and vacating the Popich building. That's all.
Any other questions from the table? Administration.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The no later date, I certainly think that is an executive function outside the purview of legislative branch. But the bigger issue here is that having been through 2 emergencies, Tropical Storm Cindy, and then the leg breach with Hurricane Harvey, it's clear, and anyone who attended, and just so all of you know, these EOC are certainly open to the council members. Anyone who attends and participates in these emergency situations recognizes that the nerve center of the parish is in the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center. That center was placed by 3 administrations ago on the 3rd floor of the Popich building for a reason, because it's a safe, secure location. It is, as during these states of emergency, and this all came about through legislation, federal legislation, it's imperative that, 1, the feds want the executive branch and all the directors present when they have these daily meetings for weather reports, for contingency reports, for contraflow reports, and everything else that goes along with emergency operations. It is clear that, to me, that when you're in these situations, you want to be as close as possible to the nerve center. And so I would simply caution that when you move, and I'm not speaking for myself, Amos Cormier, parish president, I'm talking here on behalf of every parish president that will follow me, that they will want to be, just like I want to be, near the nerve center, on the 2nd floor, elevated, so that you don't have to worry about flood risk, so that you're very near to the nerve center, and that if something does go wrong, heaven forbid, because like another Hurricane Katrina, that at least we will be able to communicate with Baton Rouge, or have the best opportunity to communicate with Baton Rouge, and the parish government won't be spread out all over the place. And like I said, I don't speak on behalf of Amos Cormier. I speak upon, having been through 2 storms, and on behalf of parish presidents that will come, just because the feds set up this EOC, and there's a reason why they want everything, and they wanted that nerve center. And so my fear is that the people of Plaquemines, the property of Plaquemines, could be put at more risk, maybe not during my term, maybe down the road, if you separate the head from the nerve center. Thank you.
Any other comments? Anybody? I'm sorry, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Cormier. I appreciate your comments, and I think in the legislation on the verbal commitment that we would give you an office at the EOC in case of emergency. So with that in mind, I did a little investigating myself and called around to see which parish presidents have their main office different locations in their EOC. And the following parishes is their parish president office is different from the EOC building. Terrebonne, Lafourche, Jefferson, St. Tammany, St. John, St. Charles, Ascension, and St. James. East Baton Rouge, too, is out by the airport by executive branch office, including the mayor, is downtown. So we would like you to be over here with us at the nerve center, as we call it here. But we know that the EOC can't move, it has to be upstairs, we understand that. We have bent over to give you a room there, and you seem, you seem antagonistic about coming over here and joining us in this great facility. And I don't know why, I don't know what, you want to be on the highway, I don't get it, but if you're using that argument about the EOC, I don't think it has much validity. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I did my research on who does and doesn't have buildings at the EOC. So, again, we offer you a room there so you can be there in case of emergency. So, thank you.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, just to point out as well, hold on one second. Yeah, this actually, the amendment does not change line 62 through 65, which hereby assigns office space at 8056 Highway 23, Budget, Louisiana, the Popich Building, Suites 311 and 312, to the parish president. So just to make it clear to the public that what Mr. Lapine said is correct and is already adopted in this resolution 134, so that doesn't change. Those two offices are still appointed to the president.
Finish, Councilman? Councilman Black, you finished?
Yes.
Administration?
Yes, thank you, Councilman Lapine and Councilman Black. I would simply state, though, that one, Plaquemines is on the coast and we are most vulnerable. That's one. And anyone who's been in this position, I think could say, and when I say position, the position of parish president can say, no one can do this alone. When it comes to these things, if you don't have the people, the employees of Plaquemines, the directors, the superintendents, everyone has to be on the same page. And that's the only, and I appreciate the offer of 1 or 2 rooms over there, but because that's the nerve center, it would be more efficient, in my opinion, and I think future parish presidents would agree, that you want to keep as many directors and heads near there. Again, with the rationale being you keep the head by the nerve center. And it's also good to be above ground. But look, I think this is a beautiful facility. So I'm not going to, this is a beautiful facility, this one and the other one. I don't want to belabor the point. There's other arguments, but it's just, I don't think it's a good idea to separate the head from the nerve center.
Rousseau?
Yes, we've debated this subject for many months now, actually probably years. I support the legislation because, I'm not supporting it because of Amos Cormier being in that building over there, but Amos Cormier won't be president here all the time. This building was built with federal dollars, just as the EOC was built with federal dollars that you referred to. They built it for a reason, for an EOC. They also built this, or funded this facility as a presidential and administrative building. FEMA put that money up, dedicated it to it, designed it for, and I believe that, in order to have a functioning government, we ought to all work together to try to fill these initial positions of office space with the intent that FEMA put the money up. You talk about having been there and done that. I have. I was there with Katrina and Rita, and I can tell you, the nerve center is wherever you assemble it. We assembled the nerve center, happened to be in 301 Main Street. We operated out of there. We are fortunate today to have federal dollars invested on the 3rd floor of the Popich to upgrade that, but we bought that building. We bought that building for a purpose, and that was to utilize it as office space because we had no other. Now, it makes no sense to me to think that, we walk around all year long under an emergency. This government is bigger than an emergency. It has to be functioning to be able to develop, entice people to come here, to be able to have economic development, and show a professional image to those who come. I believe that the facility next door is every bit of that. I believe it warrants the administration to occupy that space, and I believe that in a spirit of cooperation, you and your administration should step up and embrace it. There's nothing prohibiting you or any of your directors to get in those parish vehicles and go to that Popich building in time of need. There's nothing prohibiting anybody from traveling to wherever we need to be in the time that we need to get there. We're all within 2 or 3 miles of each other. And, you know, I think that it would be a good step forward in your administration working with this council to fulfill those needs and move into that building over there. And I'll leave it at that because we've done beat this issue for a couple of years now, and it's time to move.
And I appreciate your comments, Councilman Roussel. This is if he's talking about moving, we're talking about computers, hard drives. Is there funding given that? And this is the other thing, the timing of this. And we had a good conversation with Councilman Block about this a while back. The timing of this is, we're talking about, this is 9 months into my term. We're going to be shuffled about. The budget is incredibly tight already. And so if this is indeed a good faith move, then I would simply request an ordinance appropriating some funding so that we have help moving. Because this is October, a deadline of less than a month, and I've got no money. I'm short manpower across the board. I mean, I simply would request some monies, an ordinance with some money so that we can hire some movers to help us get, you know, truck it over in, what is this, 20, today, not even a month, 20-something days. I mean, it stands to reason that there should be, I would simply request some citizens, because nobody can make that move in 20-something days without any money and given budgetary constraints and the manpower constraints we have currently.
Councilman Black? Yeah, I just want to, you say you have 30 days. This resolution passed on April 27th. So, you know, I do take some offense to saying that we're giving you a deadline of 30 days. The reason why I amended this to make it 30 days is to avoid a mandamus, because you defied the request of the council per our authority in the charter to locate to Building 100. That resolution was passed unanimously by this council on April 27th, and there's been no movement. We've had discussions. You made it very clear that you, to this council, not just to myself, but to the entire council, that you have no intention to move. By me making this amendment is basically to give you some leverage to adhere to the resolution and the council's wishes prior to doing a mandamus. So that's what it is. And I have no problem. This council has left brand new furniture at that building. That building, the conference room, all conference rooms are fully furnished with audio-visual equipment, etc. It has a $100,000 gas generator. It has the majority of the office equipment already there. So that's basically all I have in regards to that comment about the 30 days, Mr. President. And if whatever funds are needed to move the additional stuff. And I do want to add as well, you talked about the servers. The servers, this council passed a resolution months ago to move Mr. Charles Drago and his team to that building, and all of the parish servers are housed in Building 100 to include the AT&T system. So all of the parish networks go through Building 100, which is backed up by that generator system. So there are no movement of any servers. They're already there. That's where they're located at. So.
Finish, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Roussel? And just as a follow-up to that, as Mr. Black stated, you know, the building is fully furnished. I believe that we would be more than willing to provide some funding to move your file cabinets or any other boxes that you might have. We moved into this building, you know, in the back of our cars and trucks. We picked up our computers and moved them over here. But if you need assistance to do that, I'll be glad to help, and I'm sure other people here would be glad to help. But the point is that it is fully furnished, the servers are there, the generator is there, and it's sitting there unoccupied because we had this breakdown between cooperation. And so, if you want to get an estimate of what it would take to move you over here, I wish you would do that in the next couple of days, and we would be glad to work with you if we saw an indication that you were willing to do that. But Councilman Black has moved today because we have seen no indication and had no cooperation on the effort to move back here. So we are at the end of our rope, and we are trying to work with an easy solution and hope that you will cooperate.
This building, the grand opening, ribbon cutting was 2 weeks ago. And so to say that this has been ongoing isn't the most accurate depiction of the events. Because this council was, some of the council offices were in the process of being switched over. And I'm hearing, and you're going through growing pains with the new building and working out the kinks in the new building. Now, the luxury of the legislative branch is that you control the purse strings, the money, but you don't have to be directly in control of the management and running of government. Now, this is, once again, a fire sale move that this resolution purports to impose upon the executive branch is, I can tell you this right now, it will exacerbate problems. It will cause problems. And we have a difference of opinion on Article 5. But I'm bringing up these practical issues, and I say difference of opinion on Article 5 of the Charter. But I'm bringing up these practical issues because I'm not stubborn or hard-headed, but it's certainly, given the current situation, state of affairs, this will cause more confusion and chaos if we weren't to have professional movers come in and assist with this and work out these kinks along the way. And even if you had professional movers, I don't see how this could be done in 20-something days. But without the people of this parish suffering, because again, the executive branch is in charge of trying to run parish government, and because of the numerous issues of which we're all aware, and the manpower shortages, which we all know about, it's not the best time. When you're running a government on Band-Aids and shoestrings, you don't go shuffle the cards. And that's what this is doing. The timing of it is very inconvenient, to say the least. And it will cause issues, because whenever there's a move, as is experienced in this building, there are kinks. And I hope that, this council would consider that in its vote. And at the very least, look at giving this more time.
So,
Yes, I just want to interject just a brief statement in this argument here. It doesn't matter which side of the argument that you're on this issue. To me, it really doesn't matter a whole bunch. If it's at the pulpit, if it's at here, that's just my take on it. But what I find somewhat hypocritical is that we have passed legislation at least 3-4 times directing civil service to the Port Sulphur Government Building. And there's never been any talk, to my knowledge, of mandamus or anything. Reduction in salary, none of the above. So I'm just a little confused on this, but anyway, that's just my 2 cents.
Councilman Michelle? Yes, I guess that confusion comes from the lack of administration trying to move the Civil Service Department, because that would be their responsibility as the Department of Government. And as you can see from the conversation that we're having today, they're reluctant to move themselves, much less anybody else. So, in my opinion, this is much bigger than this argument about Mr. Cormier's administration staying on the highway. As I stated before, Mr. Cormier will not be president here forever. You know, this is about a long-term plan that was put in place before any of us even got here, except for maybe Mr. Lapine and Mr. Edgecombe. And as a result of those plans, you know, we didn't throw the courthouse plans away because we didn't like it. We went ahead with it and built it because that was the plan and that's where we were. And we got stuck with a set of plans and a $25 million bill that we had to implement. So, you know, I bought into the courthouse because it was part of the plan. And that's why we're building the courthouse there. Now, to sit here and not want to go through with the plan because of whatever reason it could be, it doesn't really register in my mind as to what the logic is behind that. You know, I understand the argument about being close to the EOC. Well, you have office at the EOC. You can walk down the hall any day you want. You can stay there, sleep there, bathe there, do whatever you want. It doesn't prohibit you from doing that. But the center of the operation, the millions of dollars that were spent here, was so we would be in a professional facility right next door. Your finance department is next door, the council is here, and the administration building is there. So, you know, to make this government more functional, I believe it would be to all of yours advantages to do that. And, you know, when we talk about fire sale or fire action, I'm really, I started not to have any comments on this issue because I've had so many comments on it. Go back to the Gazette and read the discussions that we have had on this over the last year. So it's not like we came at the last minute and said, you got 30 days. If we would have had an indication that you were willing to do that and cooperate and fulfill the needs that were built around the FEMA money and move into that building, you know, we wouldn't be talking like this. But this is not a last-minute effort. I believe you would be well satisfied if you just agreed to move over there and did it. You would have a much better atmosphere and probably a much better outlook on this government being in a professional building. And, you know, having said that, I'm running out of conversation here because it's really boggling my mind as to why it's not happening. You know, the next president that comes in would probably be very well embraced to have a new brand new facility and quality that it's over there. So, you know, I'm losing my position here about rationale talking about this, to be honest with you. Councilman Black?
Yeah, I just want to clarify one of the comments from Ms. Salvant. We've had numerous conversations, ma'am, about a mandamus, and we spoke to our attorney, Mr. Garrett, in regards to civil service, because, you know, I was one of the ones who voted not to move civil service, but that resolution passed, and I accept that as being the wishes of the council. So I think the civil service should move. I think the judge has ruled that the council has that authority and that civil service should move. So I took it upon myself to ask our attorney how to get them to move, and there is no TRO, there is no injunction set forth by the court, even though it's in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, their case. The judge basically ruled that civil service needs to move if the president says move. So I've had conversations with Mr. Giles on a couple of different occasions based on resolutions that this council has passed. One of them, the Buildings Department to move out of 100 and to move into Building 600 where civil service is located. Also, Mr. Russo's resolution to move recreation from Edward Hebert to Building 600. What I think should be done is they need to just move, and civil service needs to be moved as well. But it's not, so when I asked the question to our legal counsel how to do that, and should we do a mandamus against civil service? It wouldn't be a mandamus against civil service. Unfortunately, it would be a mandamus against the administration. And I'm trying to avoid any mandamuses against the administration. We're just asking them to say, hey, guess what, guys? You're no longer in this office, and we're going to lock the doors, and we're going to move your stuff out or consolidate the offices. But we have 2 resolutions to move folks, buildings and recreation, to that building. If they want to be co-located, that's fine. Let Director Giles decide what offices go to what personnel. But, man, we have worked very hard to get civil service to move. But short of the mandamus on the administration, that's all we can do. I know I want them to move. Like I said, I voted against the resolution, but it passed. So I live with that law, and I don't know where else to go with it. But I just want to make it clear that we have worked to get them to move. And I do want to point out one more.
Wait a minute. Key back in, Councilman.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify this from the last point. As far as the funding goes for Building 100, so HMGP grant specifically was done, that's 1603-075-0003, as well as SRIA Act Project Worksheet 20914 was approved and awarded by FEMA to us, specifically based on the cost-benefit analysis that was done to receive those funds. So my fear is, and this may be debatable as well, my fear is that if the administration, based on the cost-benefit analysis and those funds being received, doesn't move into Building 100, maybe 5 years or so after we get audited by FEMA, they say, hey, we appropriated these funds for the administration while they're not there, and force us to potentially pay it back. That's all I have on the funding issue.
Solid.
Yes, I'm all agreement with the latter part of your comment. Okay, but still, no action. The bottom line is, well, why recreation can't move, then let's try coexisting. But then the council would have acted on the legislation. But to not to do anything from our report, we have assigned buildings before, assigned office spaces before. And for them to keep denying us, I think it's a slap in this council's face. And you're right, it falls within Mr. Cormier's jurisdiction, the bottom line, but at the same token, are we acting as a council to take every action that we should against recreation? All I'm saying is, every time we direct them, they say no. I mean, civil service, they say no. Thank you, Ms. Williams. They say no. So, okay. So we just fall back like that? Why don't we take actions on directing recreation to move into that building? And let's see what the coexistence is going to be.
Okay, Councilman South, and I have to say, I think you're correct. And now, the legal opinion expressed by Councilman Black there is without merit, because I have stated that for civil service to move. Now, it's a question of priorities. All right, I've never put in there, told anyone civil service not to move, but it's a question of priorities. We've got limited resources, and so am I going to go file a suit, again, without council approval against civil? Well, you did ask them to move, but the priorities is what I think you're getting on to, and you're absolutely correct. With the problems that we've had with lack of funding, lack of manpower, the excuse is too, we just heard Greg Simpson, superintendent of drainage, say that civil service has still not filled or sent names over for the 6 trainees. So, to go file a suit against civil service to move them, to give them another excuse not to back up the delay on the trainees. I mean, this is something that it's about priorities. And the priorities right now, Plaquemines Parish government is underfunded, Plaquemines Parish government is undermanned, understaffed. And so if the biggest thing that we're going to be so focused on is moving buildings, that again, is a question of priorities. And I think the priority should be services to the people first. And when you're running on Band-Aids and shoestrings, shuffling buildings shouldn't be top priority. It should be providing services to the people of this parish.
Legal?
Yes, sir. From the Williams family, I had this conversation with the parish attorney's office. The ordinance citing civil service at the Port Sulphur building is a valid ordinance. The council doesn't really have any mechanism to carry it forward. The administration would, particularly given that there are other administration departments that have now been assigned to the building that civil service is occupying at FF Grenade Bear. And I appreciate that there potentially could be cost, but I don't know if the council has any more that they could do because they passed the ordinance. Then the executive branch would carry that ordinance out. And as Mr. Black indicated, I don't, it would require the council to mandamus the executive branch to carry out the ordinance, whereas I think the executive branch could simply move those offices on their own. The civil service department is still an executive branch department. They're funded as an executive branch department, and they've been told to move, and there is no legal impediment to them moving. And I appreciate the more policy issue of apportioning resources, but I think as was noted, I mean, the council staff kind of moved themselves over here, and certainly civil service could do that, and if there was any assistance in that. Now, there is one issue that came up at the last council meeting, is civil service asserted, well, we'll move, but we think there's mold in the Port Sulphur building. And whether that allegation is valid or not, I think steps have been taken to try to inspect that to see if that allegation is correct. But I mean, one of the council members actually has an office over there, so she may dispute. But I think right now the council has done everything that they can do short of mandamusing someone to move. I don't know if the administration would have to mandamus civil service because they are still an executive branch agency, and the administrative employee can simply pick up the files and move them to Port Sulphur.
Mr. Russell?
With all due respect, I call the question.
Any objections from the table for the question? Any objection? So be it. The question has been called. Okay, 2 noes and 6 yes. Next item.
Update and presentation by District 7 Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Defer, please.
District 1 update, Councilmember Bartholomew.
Yes, just want to bring to this table that a couple of projects and what's going on the East Bank. We have in need of some share monies that's going to be needed for the Scarsdale pump station to be elevated. We have about $10 to $12 million being pulled by FEMA, and we'll need our percentage of 25%, I think, of that to complete that project so we can complete the levees on the East Bank, on the northern part of the East Bank of Plaquemine Parish on the East Bank. Also, the courthouse is coming on. We will have pouring the slab between Monday or Friday of next week. Try to get in Monday, if not by Friday, they should have it pulled if it doesn't rain anything, but they've been working pretty hard with that. Had 18 men this whole weekend, working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and also 18 been out through this whole week to try to tie all the steels and get that ready so they can pour. They're going to start pouring about 8 o'clock in the afternoon. It's about a 10 to 12 hour deal of pouring cement, over 200 yards of cement. Also, the tower, the old tower, is about to come. They're going to have to take that down. And it's been agreed that they will, and they're going to salvage it because it's not conducive enough to be redesigned to be put up again because the metal will not meet the criteria of the safety mechanism. Also, they're supposed to be transferring the signals this week to the new tower that has been built at the back of the courthouse to transfer the signals. The hold up was the Ironton. They had to go and transfer the, what do they call those things? The big brown box and the microwave on those towers. They didn't have the right brackets. So now they have those in place, so they will be switching over this week to the new tower. Highway 15, of course, you know that latter part is in bad shape. It hasn't been done in over 60 years. It needs to be done. And it's a parish highway, and it belongs to Platinum Parish government. Anything happen, anybody get hurt, we can be in danger. We can get sued for it if it's not fixed properly. Also, the drainage along Highway 39, where all the water drains from the highways are cluttered with cluster. It's just in terrible shape. The grass is all over the place. You can barely see some spots you can't even see the water because it's cluttered. It's just not a good atmosphere for drainage. Also in the Phoenix area, coming over 39 as it comes into Phoenix to the Shire Road, where the St. John Church is on the back end. Every time we have a shower or rain, all that water goes into that valley. It floods that area. In just a matter of time before the people in the back end homes or trails get flooded. So adjustments need to be made to that. And also I will send the council members a CD of showing you the condition of the drainage canal. And the East Bank, on the lower East Bank and the northern East Bank, depends a lot on drainage from the ditches and the highway to the main core where the pump stations are. We're not fortunate enough to have subsurface drainage because we're not, I guess, a city like Velchase in this area because we have a lot of subsurface drainage in this area. But being that we would need to make sure that whatever happens, we need to start working on the ditch, not only on the east, but on the west bank as well, because those are some serious problems. That's all I have concerning the East Bank. Next, please.
District 2 update, Councilmember Black.
Okay, you can move. I just wanted to move to 7L next, please.
Okay, let me get to Councilman Black. Councilman Black?
I can defer this for Tom, but I would ask you after you go to 7L to go back to introductions, please. Okay.
Can I go to Mr. Lapine at this time? Mr. Lapine, your alcohol permit, your liquor license. Councilman Lapine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a one-night liquor license, a request for a beer and liquor license for the Plaquemines Care Center, 115 Keating Drive, for the annual Celebrity Waiters Dinner to be held at the Belchase High School Auditorium on Thursday, October 29th, 2017, from 7 p.m. to midnight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. We move to IL, Ms. Williams. Oh, I'm sorry. Offered by Mr. Lapine, second by Ms. Williams. Machine is open.
The date is October 19th, not 29th.
I'm sorry?
The date is October 19th, not 29th.
October 19th goes on there, not the 20th. It's on there.
Okay.
Okay. It passes 8-0. Ms. Williams? Fresh yourself.
Discussion regarding EMS by Lori Frankovich, Councilmember Williams.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I would like Ms. Franovich to come up. She has a little presentation she wants to give to Ms. Kim.
We haven't set up the laptop.
It won't work.
Well, she has, I think you have copies?
I do have some hard paper on it.
Okay, well, I didn't know, I'm sorry.
It's all right. No, it's fine.
I wasn't aware of that because I know we've always did it like that. I guess with the new system, you can't. Okay.
Finish, Ms. Wade?
Yes, just,
Mr. Russo, I have a comment.
Well, since we don't have that, I have a copy for everybody, if y'all want to flip through it, and that way y'all can see what I'm doing, and I don't have to hold it up.
Russo has a comment.
I'd just like to defer item F. I will be departing soon.
Oh, okay.
F is deferred. Anything else? Anything else? All right, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is in reference to EMS. Plaquemines Parish geographical configuration is mostly linear. The area that has the largest variation of this is Belle Chase. Y'all have maps in your thing. Belle Chase is approximately 17 miles as it runs along the river, although it has approximately 28 miles of road area to cover. Due to the fact that it is not all along the same one road, EMS is able to respond to any area in Belle Chase in less than 20 minutes from in route time to arrive on scene time. I have an example of times of a call that EMS and fire were dispatched to. It was on the drive. When EMS was dispatched to this call, they were located in the northmost area of Belle Chase. And the call was at the grain elevator, which is at the furthest range of their area. It took them 17 minutes to get to the area, and then 18 minutes from the grain elevator to the hospital, which is only 1 mile, located 1 mile outside of Belle Chase. And West Jeff is 8 miles outside of Belle Chase. University is 9 miles away. This allows the Belle Chase area to return to be available for their next call quicker than any other unit or service. And a map of 6 districts. Plaquemines provided service in 6 districts, which was Palmer-Hash, Brightway, Belle Chase, Fort South, Buras, and Venice. Providing 6 districts allows coverage in regards to the distance of miles covered in their own district and the distance that they have to travel to the hospital. Once an ambulance is dispatched, the units in bordering districts adjust their coverage area to compensate for the units that are engaged on call. This is a map of 5 districts. We are currently operating with only 5 districts. On July 8th, the Buras area was eliminated due to lack of dependable units available. With the Buras area no longer available, this is our current division of districts. Port Selva starts at the grain elevator and ends at the Empire Bridge. That's 32 linear miles. Venice area covers approximately 23 road miles from the Empire Bridge to the end of the road. I'd like to point out that neither of these areas are connected to another parish where an outside service could be utilized if available. Also note that an outside service is heavily dependent on their availability, and we have no control of that. This is a map of what we are now when one unit is out on a call. That's 55 road miles that are covered by one unit, and if both are engaged on a call, then that's 55 miles with no service. This area is not connected to another parish, and it takes 2 to 3 hours from dispatch time to back in service time due to the distance to hospitals. I made a run there the other day from Halliburton Road to the hospital is 76 miles. I didn't do that. This is a map of if we had 5 units with the East Bank being limited to 1 unit and the West Bank being 4 units. The East Bank is connected to St. Bernard Parish, although it is limited on how the availability of an outside service. It's not a guarantee. We don't have any control over it. We don't know where the units would be located if we did need them, but it is only 37 miles, road miles. And Palmer-Hash Firehouse is 55 miles from the first
hospital that's available with an emergency department. Mr. Robichaud has stated that the East Bank only does 9% of the calls. EMS does over 2,000 calls a year. 9% of just 2,000 would be 180. If some of these were refusals, say 50, then 130 would be transported to a hospital. Do 12 fire stations combined work 130 active fire structures per year? We don't judge fire stations by their activity. We actually like it that we don't have fires. This is a simple map of the 12 state fire stations in the parish. There's 6 districts and 6 substations. Fire stations are generally placed according to the road miles they can reach in a certain amount of time. It results in short response time. They are not shut down due to lack of activity. According to Property Insurance Association of Louisiana, PIAL, a nonprofit organization that inspects and rates firehouses, to be eligible for consideration of being in a fire district, your home should be located within 7 road miles of the station with a rating of 1 to 9. 1 being excellent, 9 being poor. Most Plaquemines Parish fire departments are rated between 4 and 6. With Plaquemines' linear geography, this results in most of our stations being placed 14 miles within each other. One fire station covers 7 miles north and then 7 miles south of its location. This is the Myrtle Grove Fire Station. It's a substation that was built at a cost of approximately $4 million. When I inquired about why this substation was built, I was given 2 reasons. The first being that Superintendent Robichaud had the budget and also that the land was donated. At the location where it was built, this left more than 5 miles of area without fire coverage on the south side and double coverage of the same area on the north side that was already being covered by the Jesuit Bend Fire Station. There is no credit for providing coverage from both substations for the same area. Any structure outside range of a firehouse results in an insurance premium of more than double than one within a fire district. The 5-mile area starting from West Pont-LaHache traveling north has no fire coverage due to the placement of the Myrtle Grove Firehouse. The parish owns land 4.5 miles north of the ferry. Had the fire station been built there, no one on the West Bank would be out of the range of a fire station. I believe this was a misuse of public funds by Superintendent Robichaud. The Pont-LaHache Fire Station on the East Bank is rated as a 10, resulting in high premiums to the resident, even though they have a new fire station, 3 fire engines, and 3 men assigned to be on duty at all times. The rating of 10 seems to be mostly due to it requires 4 trained firemen to work a structure fire for them to be rated above a 10. With 3 men on duty, would it not be prudent for the captains to be housed in East Pont-LaHache to possibly provide a 4th trained man on a structure fire? If not, then why are we paying for a 3rd man to be stationed there for 7 years? It is not providing positive results to the citizens of Plaquemines. It is costly to keep a 3-man station. Each man on duty represents 3 full-time employees, which is being done at both East Bank stations as I understand it to be. The Beers Fire Station was also rated at 10. They are now rated at 5. They have more volunteers working structure fires, and I think it should be noted that many of the paid firemen assist on working structure fires even though they are not on active duty at the time. Being on standby at these fires, I noticed that the paid firemen are quick to respond to fires and motor vehicle accidents on their own time and without hesitation. This dedication of the paid fire personnel shows their passion and commitment to the community. I don't have a picture of it. Plaquemines Medical Center in relation to EMS. It's a much-needed resource for the people of the parish. It provides immediate access to its urgent care department and a family practitioner for continuity of care for our citizens. I have personally utilized PMC myself, from a general physical to a busted eardrum and several other health issues. I would recommend PMC myself for many health issues. But Plaquemines Medical Center is not a hospital. It's not a stroke center. It's not a cardiac facility. It's not a trauma center. It's not definitive care for long bone fractures or breaks. Does not have the resources to care for a newborn infant. It has no psychiatric department. It does not justify removing a unit from the lower end. When should EMS utilize PMC? Basic units that do not have immediate access to a paramedic unit and require advanced care. Paramedics requiring PMC resources such as their glide scope, which was recommended by Mr. Robichaud, to stabilize a patient such as a patient in need of a chest tube, or to LSI patient which requires advanced practitioner. Use of their heliport. EMS appreciates PMC's assistance. Plaquemines Medical Center does not justify reducing the lower area of 55 miles from 2 units to 3. All of the chief complaints listed above would still require transport to a hospital via ambulance or air care. The ambulance is most cost-effective and most reliable. Air care is more expensive and is subject to availability and heavily dependent on the weather. We follow laws. We follow state laws. We follow Region 1 protocol laws. And in these laws, we are mandated on where to transport patients. Patients are transported to hospital or emergency departments. When a patient's condition of EMS unit status allows, patients are authorized guardian of such will be allowed to select the hospital emergency department, not urgent care, of choice with, I have urgent care, I'm reading the rest, okay? This is how the laws. Of choice within the EMS service area, hospital selection by patients or guardians will not be honored in cases of major trauma or critically ill patients. That will rely on EMS and med control. We are in contact with doctors on a regular basis. If in the opinion of medical control or the highest skill level EMS practitioner, the patient's condition is unstable, the patient will be transported to the closest appropriate hospital emergency department. EMS medics work on a 7-7 shift, 7 days on, 7 days off, 50% of the year. Being paid 18 hours per day of the 24 hours a day they are on duty, except for Thursdays, which is crew change day when they're paid hour for hour. EMS personnel do not receive 50% extra pay for overtime when working on their day off. Fire personnel work 24-48 shift, 24 hours on, 48 hours off. On duty 33% of the year. They are paid hour for hour while on duty. They do receive the extra 50% overtime pay when working on their off day. EMS has 6 districts which requires 24 medics, 12 paramedics, 12 EMTs to be fully staffed. We require by law 1 medical director and 1 paramedic instructor. We also have 1 secretary and 1 billing secretary. This is a total of 27 full-time personnel and the medical director. We currently have 10 paramedics and 9 EMTs with 1 out on workman's comp. This is not enough to fill 5 units. Mr. Robichaud has attempted to put the medics under the fire schedule. Under the 24-48, it would require 6 medics to staff 1 unit. This would result in 24 medics operating only 4 units at a higher cost. This schedule has built-in overtime and overtime being paid when someone is out on annual leave or sick leave. Under the fire system, they do not accrue sick leave as does EMS and most parish workers. Fire has 364 days a year available for sick leave and no career limit. This is a situation which is ripe for abuse and at a high cost to the budget. The council has unfrozen 4 positions in the EMS department. Mr. Robichaud has stated that verbally that he will only be hiring part-time medics, stating that part-time costs less than full-time medics. Part-time medics do not fill these units. We currently have part-time medics and still require fire personnel to fill positions due to not enough full-time medics. I had a chart for y'all showing the extra time that EMS worked, how much work they were paid, how much was free time, how much fire worked. And the part-times worked since January 1st to the end of August, 9 hours. So if you hire part-time, did you hire anybody? This is, I just explained that, okay, sorry. Okay, every time fire first responder personnel are utilized on EMS units, they are paid 24 hours a day, and some shifts are being paid overtime. This results in approximately $270 per day for regular pay and over $400 a day when it's overtime. How is this a cost-effective solution? Paramedics' pay is $234 a day. A basic is paid $180 a day. To operate fully with 6 districts, we need to hire 2 paramedics, 3 full-time EMTs, and 1 paramedic instructor. Putting medics on the 24-48 shift would make it more difficult to attract medics to the rural areas, such as Port Suffolk, Buras, Venice, and Fort Ash. I'm not a public speaker. This would also result in a huge increase to the budget, requiring 6 personnel for 1 unit. Recently, Mr. Robichaud has stated that he would like to put medics on the schedule in the Belle Chase area only. If he does that, he said medics can't work for other medics on different shifts. You're dividing them. With his history, I believe he would fill any open spots once the schedule with first responders. EMS would have to get behind 70 first responders before they got a shot at overtime. It's not fair. In August of 2016, Unit 3068 was heavily damaged when it struck 2 cows on the east bank of the river. March 30th, Mr. Robichaud stated he'd be back in 2 weeks. April 18th, he said he'd be back in 1 week. May 9th, be back in 3 days. No problem to stay certified. May 19th, the unit finally arrives in the parish. Took him 2 months to stay certified. June 15th, an estimate was submitted for repairs on Unit 3065. No repairs done yet. Units aren't being repaired in a timely manner. They're being held behind locked gates. Keys are being removed from units. They're not being returned into service. EMS had a SUV that was provided to us through grant money. The SUV was dressed out in EMS decals. It's now all decal fire rescue. If it comes through with grant money for EMS, it has to be used for EMS. What is his intention for this unit? As far as I know right now, he's not utilizing it. But what's the future for it? Our paramedic instructor could use it. I'm sorry. I don't know if y'all have a copy of this in y'all want to pass it around as the rates of the extra time that we've been working. And that's not every hour, it's just what's extra. Police, EMS, and fire are all essential services. No, I'm just a mess. In a short 6 years, fire through the tax that was voted in by the residents of the parish, were able to employ over 70 personnel, build 2 new firehouses, and save over another $4 million to build a 3rd firehouse. With a decrease in the parish budget that had previously paid for the deficit acquired by EMS, our billing of insurance companies did not allow us to be self-sufficient. The council merged fire and EMS under the fire tax budget due to we are all first responders. In theory, this appeared to be a solution. to continue to provide essential services. The execution of this has fallen short, and being successful, leaving EMS unable to maintain its previous service. We're reduced to 5 units. When I started this job, my first partner, it was after the storm, and my first partner talked a lot about she had to come back. She needed to be back to serve her people. I didn't get it. I'm like, you don't even always have the same people. Once in a while you have a few chronic people that you pick up regular. But most of the time we're picking up different people, and I didn't get it. 11 years in, I get it. We serve these people, and we serve them well. I'm sorry. EMS is essential to this parish, and I feel like we're being torn apart. And I understand the budget, but I don't think things are going fair. Thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Ms. Laurie, I want to thank you for gathering all of this information and for having the courage to come up here and speak today, because I know how hard it is for you to speak in front of the public. There are some much-needed improvements that must be addressed for our EMS services. And I would recommend the administration to please try to work on this, and we can put our heads together to be able to provide the essential services that are needed to our residents.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
After all our meetings, we had a few meetings a year or so ago. Nothing has changed? Everything is worse?
It's not better?
It's not better since we had the meetings and
No, sir.
all the talks?
The last we heard, well, y'all approved 2 ambulances to be purchased, correct? Y'all approved people to be hired, correct? We were told the hires would only be part-time. Our part-timers are ghosts. There's no regulation on how much they have to work for us. So if you're hiring part-timers and they don't have to work, you don't have to hire anybody. Right now, as I understand today, we have 3 firemen that are on duty on EMS trucks. They're getting paid $480 a day, most of them, because they've been there several years. A paramedic, who is the highest 3-level medic you can give care to for a patient, gets $315 a year after 15 years. We have always been budget friendly to this parish to provide 6 ambulances because of the geography. I've stated it before, if everybody lived north of the bridge on the West Bank, 2 ambulances and we good to go. But it doesn't happen that way.
Well, I want to thank you for your information, and I hope, President Amos, that you can help this young lady. Thank you.
Help me help them.
Councilman Black? Yeah, I want to just also reiterate what a couple of council members said. We thank you guys for your service. I guess one of my questions is, in this council has done quite a few things that really are almost out of our lane. We've held many meetings with you, some of the staff, with the president, with the fire chief, with the director of public service. A lot of these issues, I'll ask you a couple questions real quick. It sounds like there are some personnel issues, I don't want to say personal issues, but personnel issues in regards to the fire chief. Have you brought those issues up with civil service or HR?
Civil service says that we're not under them, that we're unclassified. I did check with civil service.
Okay.
And Mr. Giles, who is gone now, said that Mr. Robichaud told him that the 2 ambulances would be delivered at the end of September.
Okay.
It's not realistic. It takes 4 to 6 months to get an ambulance. But all of this shooting from the hip answers is beyond frustrating, because I'm following them. Right. And I was asked by Mr. Giles, don't you talk to Mr. Robichaud? Well, it's an exercise in futility. I mean, because what he says and what he does are so many miles apart that I don't care to hear the verbal answer. I want to see what's happening, what the action is. You know, I mean...
From my perspective, and from listening to you, seeing all the numerous emails, the information that's been provided to us, that you, as well as some other folks within EMS, have a lack of confidence in the fire chief, or the chief who is now over both the EMS department and the fire department. Those are personnel issues. Those are issues that I think that need to be addressed by the administration, not the council. The council doesn't direct any parish employees to do anything except for our own personal staff. So I would ask that Director Giles, who is the direct line supervisor of the fire chief, and the president, who's the direct line supervisor of the director, take your issues and come up with some resolution. I'm glad you brought this to the council's attention, but really all hands are tied as far as administering workflow.
When you put us under his budget, what I read in the resolution was that he would act in an unbiased manner.
Well, he should. That's what I'm saying. That's a personnel issue.
Well,
What we did was, yes, we merged the departments, and it's under the supervision of the chief now, who is also supervised by the director, who is ultimately supervised by the parish president. We can't direct by law any parish employees to do anything. That's the job, the function of the administration, hence administration. So I'm not sure what else we could do as a council to alleviate some of your concerns, because to me it sounds like there are personnel issues that need to be addressed. And I've spoken to Director Giles, he's been in a lot of those meetings, so my impression is that he's doing his job. It's just now that, and the president's doing his job and administering this thing, but there's some disconnect where either you guys aren't agreeing with the way they're operating it, and if that's the issue, that's what the council can do.
But one, obviously, y'all control the budget, and, when it's in January, he's telling me he can't afford to tow my unit off the side of the road, it's insulting. It's insulting. You just need your budget.
But we do control the funds, and we've provided the funds. Yes, we have some limited funds because of the sales taxes have gone down, so they're not getting as much money as they used to. But yes, we provide the funds. But they're responsible for managing those funds within the budget we appropriated. So that's nothing to the council, because he's never come back to us and asked for more money. He's asked for positions, and we approve those positions.
Spending of money, and is it spending of money in an appropriate manner, and who decides that? Because he told us in April that he would be out of money in August. Then August comes and he wants captains. Captains are his highest paid underneath him. So how can you afford captains when you're telling us you can't fix a unit?
And that is an issue that his supervisor needs to work with him on if he is not managing his own budget properly. The council just appropriates the money.
But y'all don't check to see if he's managing his budget properly?
We're not firemen or EMTs, EMS personnel. Our job is the chief comes to us and says, or the parish president comes to us and says, I need X amount of money to operate for this year. And that's what we appropriate. It's within his realm to then utilize the funds that he's been appropriated to run his department. Now, if you think there's some misuse or misappropriation of funds, we have a new internal auditor that can look into that. You made a comment that he may be misappropriating funds. That's a district attorney issue. But I would urge you to work with Director Giles through that chain of command to alleviate those issues, because all the council does is annually provide them with funds. It's his job to manage it responsibly, and if he's not doing it, you don't think he is, then that needs to be addressed with his supervisors.
Now, Mr. Cormier did help us that April 24th, we were supposed to go over the 2448 schedule as fire, which would have just blown his budget to hell.
I mean, 6 paramedics that run one unit, and he did assist us in stopping that. And because we'd rather provide 6 units with 24 medics.
Finish, Councilman.
Yes.
Mr. Cormier?
Ms. Franovich, I really want to thank you for this information. This packet is fact-filled and accurate, and thank you for your years of service. And this is another example of there's a reason why EMS and fire were separate for decades.
Well, they didn't have fire.
Yeah, and so, you know, while it's sometimes there's knee-jerk reactions and let's reorganize and let's merge, and there's always unforeseen problems and issues that arise. And clearly, you've brought a lot of information.
I don't think it was a bad theory. We have budget problems. I didn't think it was a bad theory. I think the execution is horrendous. I think because he says so many things and then he does different things. You can't say you're going to run out of money and then hire captains. You just can't. It's just wrong. I mean, at some point you're lying. Okay, that's a bad word, but I mean, really.
Well, priorities, I just stated this a little, priorities are reflected in funding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Cuba Gooding Jr. phrase, show me the money.
Okay.
And so, it's the reason why EMS, and you laid out some good reasons why EMS was separate, because there's different purposes, different objectives for fire and EMS. And this is something that we're going to continue looking at. And funding is there's more than one way to fund these things. And I'm going to leave it at that, and I will be speaking with the council with this 2018 budget. We briefly elaborated upon earlier, but if we prioritize services,
we are the smallest entity of the first responders. So cut us by, almost a quarter, just seems unrealistic. And then to have extra men at stations that's not producing, your station's at a 10, and there's 3 full-time firemen there. 3 full-time firemen is really 9 people. I mean, we're 24 in a whole. It's just, there's a balance issue here.
Quite agree.
Thank you.
And I think the problem came when we did the consolidation.
I know, but I think it's
because of the fire budget was dedicated to the fire. And when we decided to put the EMS with that, it was never an assumption of mine anyway, that it would create a budgetary problem in the fire department. And all of a sudden it did. Because a lot of money was appropriated, planned to do things, for example, of Woodlawn Firehouse. That $4 million in there to do that firehouse. That money is gone.
Yes, it is.
Why? Because they didn't manage it right. We had a 10. Why? Because we don't have volunteer fire department. Why? Then they should always be assumed, not assumed, but the plan that if it doesn't give us the correct number of people that need it, then some adjustment needs to be made. Because this was a proposition that was voted on by the people for fire protection. This tax. And that was what it was designed for. And it faltered when we put the EMS in there because we had to accommodate the EMS with that legislation that was passed by the people for fire protection. And we, just like you stated, we are at a 10. And a 10 is just like not having a fire department. And that's not today. That's been there since this legislation was passed. No improvements have been made. And that's a serious problem for me. But this council doesn't want to react to it. So, but my whole thing, I think you were better off when you were in your own department and y'all ran your own thing.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, and y'all more efficient and more effective. Because y'all knew what needed to be done. Y'all knew that how the equipment was. Y'all knew that the cycle. But the first time I was on the council, every year, we were buying equipment, fire trucks, ambulance.
I know what they are.
Because it was a cycle. Even though we took all this one out, we just steadily replacing. We didn't wait till it built up, and then you had a problem, because then you had that money by 3 or 4. But if you kept doing it each year, in the budget by one, you always kept ahead. And every area was covered.
Yes, sir.
Every area was covered. No area was left out. Now, you have a skeleton crew. And who suffers? The people that you serve. And I hope that we don't get to the point of not trying to revitalize that and give you whatever you need to make sure that you still can provide the services that provide to save, that providing a saving activity of lives for people. Because that's what it's about. You're saving people's lives. And you're helping people to promote their life. Because sometimes the older people, if you're not there to take care of them, they're going to die off. But through y'all efforts, y'all made a profound difference in that. I observed that in the past. A lot of it. And I understand we talk about money. You always have problems with money. And it's not EMS problem. It's us and the people itself. We have to know what we need to do to resolve that. There's always a way of doing things. But we have to understand the people that we so much serve and so much that we like to take care of. And y'all have my heart and always are with you all, because y'all, I haven't seen you happen too many times. Y'all save lives. And God bless you, and I appreciate what you have done. And you have spoken the truth. There's no ambiguity in here. It's just natural facts.
Yes, sir.
And I hope that we can come to some kind of consensus down the road and put you back into your own area
And truly,
fund your department to where you can have everything that you need.
truly, when the funding we got shifted under, I really was hoping that it would just result in the stoppage of growth of fire while they were having, because fire money is paid for us, but we are falling apart.
Yeah.
So.
Councilman Hayes.
Ms. Kranovich, thank you for your report. It's very eye-opening, to say the least. I got a question for you, a three-part question, but what is the difference between an EMS and a paramedic, EMT and a paramedic, and are we required to have so many EMTs and so many paramedics on any district, as you say, at one time?
Okay, paramedic is the highest level of care you can give a patient outside of a hospital. They have all the drugs in their pots to utilize. An EMT can secure airway, can do compressions, can do EpiPens. They do give care. But when you're talking about distance from hospital, by law we don't have to have a paramedic on the truck. By law, but I would recommend to have one paramedic on every truck.
Are we by state statute or something that says we have to?
No, Orleans Parish, by law, according to our protocols, does have to require a paramedic on every truck. They can't roll a truck out without one. We are not. We can run a basic level unit. I don't recommend it. It's not the best care for our people. The best care is one paramedic, one EMT, and we charge accordingly to that, so that if a paramedic is not utilizing that call, that our citizen is not charged for a paramedic level run. So it helps with the patient too.
And I guess I want to elaborate on that. Have we ever been, to your knowledge, have we ever been caught with our pants down and not have an EMT or paramedic on board that there was a problem?
You mean a failure to care for a patient?
Well, that wasn't certified to do what they were supposed to do.
We have never rolled a unit that I know of without a minimum EMT, ever. And I hope we never do.
Well, I hope so too, but again, you brought us a lot of facts, a lot of documentation, but these are the other things we want to know. Are we skipping on services?
Yes.
If
you don't have a paramedic on that unit, you are skipping on services.
Okay, but again, are we doing that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely today.
Okay. And that's what we...
On several trucks today.
We need that brought to our attention. And we need to clarify this on wherever we go with this and find out which way we're heading.
You have several units today running with basics and a first responder. The first,
And one of your units is coming the first way it can.
Yeah.
With the basic.
It's over 70
and
miles.
Well, I appreciate your report, I appreciate you coming to speak to us, and I guess I want to say please update us later, and we're going to try to work on our end. Like I said, we limited to certain things we can and can't do, but we definitely will try to do our best.
well, maybe your opinion can pressure a little bit of help with us, because I've talked to Giles. I don't see Amos much, he's busy, but Giles pretty much, not sure what to do with it. I don't know. So I came to y'all again.
Help me on, Mr. John. I guess if no one else has any comments in closing, I'm going to reflect on Mr. Black's comment. The council is responsible for budgetary issues, but as an elected official, I think it is prudent that we assist in any way that we can to provide services to our residents. And I'm sure that's the consensus of the council. But if there's a lack and we need more paramedics or EMTs, you're saying we need people, it's the fire chiefs, the chief, whoever's over the department's duty to come to us and say, we need to hire more people.
What y'all have unfrozen, he has not done on. And usually the term is dragging your feet. Well, drag my feet,
So has...
This is Samantha, she's an EMT with Blackman.
I'd like to say, y'all did unfreeze several positions for us. I appreciate that. But when it came up in front of y'all, it was not specified whether it was full-time or part-time. So that budget was not allocated for a full-time nor a part-time employee. So then it becomes up to the director on his prejudice on what he hires, whether it's full-time or part-time. He has regularly stated to me personally and to other employees he will not hire full-time. He does not want to pay the benefits to the full-time employee. We cannot operate with all part-time. We are too short-staffed now. This place cannot operate with 5 trucks. The trucks down the road this morning, running. Your lower parish left without ambulance this morning.
It happens on a regular basis.
All too often.
I've done known that both of the trucks on the West Bank was on a run. They had to wait for someone from the East Bank to come across to carry someone. Good thing it wasn't a life-threatening situation.
Or after the ferry shut down.
And then it had to go around, right.
Because if it's after 10 o'clock at night, if it happens anywhere south of Myrtle Grove Bar, they're waiting for Belchase to come. And that's if Belchase is not on a call.
That's right.
Because then you're waiting for Acadian or whomever outside service to go all the way to Venice. Because we have too much oil field down there to wait.
It's just too much area to cover with the minimal unit.
But to address Ms. Lapine, what do we legally have to have on our ambulances? Legally by law for us, we have to have at least a basic. Now that could be a basic and a firefighter. But coming from 70 miles away, and in my family, I want a paramedic at the minimum. I would not feel comfortable with a basic and a firefighter. Coming from that far.
It's not comfortable to pick up.
But legally, it is a basic and a firefighter. And to say, well, we haven't had, yes, we haven't had. Buras has not had since, I believe, June. They had not had a...
Well, they had a sprint truck prior.
Yes, let me clarify that.
Not an ambulance.
March, our ambulance was taken away from us and given to another area because we didn't have extra trucks when one broke down. We were given a sprint truck, which is our SUV, which has life-saving equipment. So we could respond and make it there with fire and have to wait for a truck to come from another area. But at least we could provide life-saving skills right then and there. That truck was taken away from us. We are so short-staffed that all of that Buras personnel has been swapped to a whole other area.
And we're still short.
And with those 3 employees swapped to a whole other area, we still don't have enough manpower to run the 5 trucks. Because when y'all pass the lifted the hiring freeze, it was not specified. And it was not specified that he had this many months to do it. So when does he have to do it?
Or does he have to do it? Does he have to hire full-time?
That's a council director, parish president conversation that I was not in and I did not see or hear. But I do know what was put towards y'all, and it wasn't full-time nor part-time. It was just open position.
I have to look at the resolution and see, our ordinance and see. I don't recall whether it specified part-time, full-time, didn't specify, did specify.
Correct. On the agenda that I read, it wasn't specified.
Yeah, the agenda doesn't have the details of the ordinance though.
And that's what I'm saying. I didn't know, I don't know, I didn't get to watch it, nor see it, nor read it. So, to my knowledge, it's unspecified. So I would like for y'all to maybe review that, see what was passed.
That could be helpful.
Kim, can you check that out? Pull it up, email it to me, please. Thank you.
But I do appreciate the time today.
Thank you for waiting it out.
Thank y'all for waiting, yeah.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I mean, this will be my last comment on this, but 'cause I can't sit here and not say anything on this. I do agree with Councilmember Williams. We are elected officials, but my point was is that I think we're doing as much as we can. And I will go back and say this is, when I drafted this ordinance a couple of years ago to merge the departments, one thing I was very specific on, and it was to help out manpower, was to have the firefighters, because you have them in stations strategically placed throughout the parish already, to be cross-trained as EMTs basics, okay? I don't think that's been done. We asked for that originally, and that was one of the purposes, is to help alleviate the manpower issues, because we know that by state law, that you are required to have a basic EMT arrive at the scene, okay? And we knew that the fire department was answering a large majority of calls for service, along with EMS. So one of the reasons why it was merged was, hey, let's cross-train, number one, cross-train EMTs and paramedics as firefighters. You could do it in-house, and also, if they want to do it, and also cross-train the firefighters to not only be basic first responders, but to be basic EMTs. That was going to alleviate a big issue as far as manpower. Then we can have more funds to go out and hire more paramedics. Obviously, that hasn't been done, but that's something that the council requested of the fire department and EMS to do, because they were training folks in-house. At the time, I'm not sure if we have the capability anymore, but at the time, we did have the capability to train those folks in-house and get them certified. I don't think that's ever happened, but that's not something, that the council asked for. It didn't happen, or it hasn't been happening. That's something we need the director to direct the fire chief to do. The second thing is, I don't know, I kind of lost my train of thought.
Okay, I have a comment on that. When y'all had that idea of firemen being cross-trained, EMTs being cross-trained, what you didn't know was how little we work for. You take an EMT fireman and pay him $480 to work as an EMT. That's not helpful.
No, but one of the other reasons why I even mentioned, I can remember specifically mentioning when I talked about it a couple of years ago, is to increase the pay, to have another classification. We had talked to civil service about redoing a classification. So basically, if you have an EMT who's just an EMT, and you get cross-trained as a firefighter, there's a new classification where it helps, it gives an incentive for an EMT to say, you know what, I want to go get some extra money, let me go get certified in-house on a clock as a firefighter. Now when you have that EMT who is at a fire station, you meet the criteria for the insurance purposes. Plus it gives that EMT the possibility to get more money from the fire department.
When y'all put us under, we had 2 EMTs, actually 2 paramedics that were firefighter 1s.
Okay.
And he wouldn't honor it.
Okay.
Because they didn't go through his academy.
Right.
But they were firefighter number 1, certified.
So this council asked specifically to do that. That's all we can do is ask. We've asked, what else can we do? That's what our intention was.
was to give an incentive for EMTs to make more money and help us out in the long run.
You get the even $6,000 extra pay by the state because he wouldn't honor their certificates.
So that's a personnel issue. And
It's a problem.
You know what I mean? So the council put all the mechanisms in place. We asked when we did the merger for specific things that hasn't been done. It's a personnel issue. And I'm not sure who you have to go to with that, if it's HR, because if you're unclassified employees or to the director, I'm not sure. But I'm telling you, the council, we asked for everything that you're talking about, everything. And I can't sit there and take a look at the chief's day-to-day operations, what he does. That's why we have administration, that's why we have a director over him to oversee that kind of stuff. So I understand your frustration, I really do. But I think this council has done a lot to alleviate the issues you had from day number one. I mean, I'm at a loss for words, and that's why when we talk about different things and things can get mixed up, you know, I want to defend the council on this, because I don't know where else to go with it.
Mr. Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Councilman Hitchcock?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Horn, Ms. Amanda, thank y'all for coming and takes courage to come do what y'all doing and bring us information. I will say this, I know we had some meetings before, y'all brought information then, I thought we was kind of on the right track. And I understand y'all had some meetings with some other of my colleagues, and I figured, well, we on the right track and we get some things done, well, apparently, that's not right. It's incorrect. So whatever y'all information y'all can give us, or me and Ms. Williams, whoever, any suggestions that y'all have, give them to us. If y'all have a name, a person y'all think might be a good person to oversee EMS, let us know, or let me know, and we'll go forward with it. And
Would y'all consider separating EMS and fire, but then where's our budget come from?
Right. Then we're back to square one with that. You know, with the budget.
shortfall.
But getting back to what information y'all brought to us, okay?
Yes,
Mr. President, I'm asking.
I'm sorry. Let me get you back here.
You're back in.
Okay, thank you, sir. No, Mr. President, if you don't mind, look into seeing if that SUV was bought with EMS money and was supposed to go to EMS, why did they take all the stickers off and give it to fire? That needs to go back to EMS because they can use that. That needs to be done like tomorrow, please. You know, address that first thing in the morning, you know, and get it done, please. Ms. Boyd, Samantha, thank y'all again, and keep in touch with us, know what's going on, because like Ms. Williams said, and Kirk and Mr. Bartholomew, you know, y'all are a lifeline down the road, and on East Bank. Thank you.
How many trucks do you have on the aspect?
Yes, sir.
Keep it that way.
We'd like to keep it that way, with two.
Yay.
Okay, like I said, with Councilman Black is stating, the problem is, in Point Wahash, we only have 3 fire members at the station. Any one of those, get on an ambulance, try to go bring somebody to the hospital, we only got 2. So I mean, we're in double violation. So that don't work. And we don't have anybody that lives in the area that are firemen. So that would not, cross-train doesn't make any difference for us. Other than that you might stay there 24 hours around the clock. So that's why, you know, you kind of need to separate that, and people need to be on their own. And we need to figure out a mechanism to take care of that. Because in the area around that, it will not work, because you only have 3 people at a time, and you have to have 4 to get any kind of decent rating on the fire department.
Once you start using firemen on the ambulance, it blows the budget up. It really does, because paying the firemen overtime is just so costly. And you're talking about not a high level of care that you're paying that much money for, so it makes no sense. It really doesn't.
Ms. Williams?
Yes, I have to leave the meeting, but I just want to,
Say that out.
yeah, I am leaving the meeting now. Mr. Black states a good point. It's our job to make the laws, it's the administration's job to carry them out. So we need help, you know, they need help. The people need help.
Finish, Ms. Wade?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and this, Councilman Williams, is what I was talking about. Priorities are reflected in funding. And you have EMS being treated like the redheaded stepchild in so many other departments. There's nothing preventing this council from taking funding from any district, be it the Port Harbour Terminal District, and it's not that I'm against the Port Harbour Terminal District. I hope that one day they build a port. I hope one day we have a port. But when you're consolidating EMS and merging EMS, and you've got, which they do provide services, as opposed to, you know, like I said, God love them. I hope that one day we get a port. But the funding is distributed, it's allocated by this council. Y'all control the money. And I personally think that EMS, as Ms. Franovich said, the fire department doesn't want to be merged with EMS. EMS doesn't want to be merged with the fire department. I mean, I'm sure the port doesn't want to be merged either. But it's a question of priorities and funding. And I think we need to look for this 2018 budget. We need to broaden our horizons and open up our expanse as to how we look at Plaquemines Parish government and funding resources. That's all I'm requesting.
Thank you.
So it is possible to get funding other than fire to help EMS.
In the charter, in the charter, the council has the power to take funding from any district that's not legally impermissible. It's in the charter.
Thank you, man. Appreciate your compassion and your commitment, and God bless you. Thank you. Next, please. Mr. Acom, you want G? Mr. Acom, defer G. H, defer. I, defer I. Read K, I think K is just an announcement that we need to make. Would you please?
7K, public announcement. The ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to Declare the Millage Levied Upon the Dollar of the Assessed Valuation of All Property, Subject to the ad valorem taxation with Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana for the year 2017 in accordance with Article 7, Section 23C of the 1974 Louisiana Constitution, and Louisiana R.S. 47:1705B and otherwise provide with respect thereto," will be up for a vote at the regularly scheduled meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council on October 26, 2017.
Thank you. That's just an announcement. The voting will take place on October 26th. M, Councilman Lepine.
Discussion regarding contracts under the state of emergency declaration.
Councilman Lepine. Q in. All right, now you go. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cormier, just one quick question. I was able to get the contracts from under emergency through Mr. Burt. He had them. I never did get them, but I got them. But there's one contract that I have in front of me by L&B Services, and the description of services is L&B shall provide qualified personnel to inspect, verify conditions, and provide written reports to PPG and make recommendations to improve flood protection, drainage facilities, including culverts, subsurface drain lines, levees, canals, open ditches, drainage structures necessary to better protect the public from flooding, property damage, or loss of life. So my question to you is, if you get that study, would you please distribute it to all of us at the council? That's all I'm asking.
Q in. You got to Q in.
Yes, and just to elaborate upon that, Councilman Lepine, I have not requested the scope of that one to be broadened to the resolution that Councilman Burt passed with the drainage throughout the parish. We're trying to do that. I believe we introduced an ordinance. We did, I spoke with Mr. Dugas. We did request proposals on the clearing, digging of drainage. The problem is we're getting pushback from contractors. There's no interest because the exact scope of the work, they want to have more parameters set up so they don't give a low bid and get caught doing the work. I do have, if you will allow me the courtesy, I did forget one thing in rushing. I do have one bit of good news on the emergency contracts. FEMA did include in the declaration of emergency for Harvey, the levee repairs as a Category B emergency protective measure. I forgot to give that my status. So we're in line to get reimbursement from FEMA for the levee in Alliance.
Councilman Payne?
Just want to make you clarity. If we get any, or we pay for services for this LNB, and we have a report, would you please forward it to us?
Yes, yes, I will. And at this time, though, and I'll keep posted with you, at this time, I've not requested an extension because let me clarify so there's no confusion. There were several groups that I told Mr. Dugas to reach out to request to put proposals in pursuant to the resolution Councilman Burr passed. The contract you were referring to was, the scope was a little broad, but it was specifically, we just used that for Myrtle Grove.
Yes, next item, please.
Approval of the minutes from the September 14, 2017 meeting.
Offered by Councilman Hitchcock, second by Councilman Lapine. Councilman Lapine, you have anything you want to say? Okay. Machine is open.
That's why.
5, no, 3 no's, 5 yes. Meeting, that's approved, meeting is adjourned. Have a motion to adjourn? Motion by myself, Hitchcock. Call vote, please, question machine is open.
There's one vote pending.
One vote pending.
What about the stage?
Doesn't matter.
Just punch the button.
Bill passed. Meeting is adjourned at 7, what is it?
6:58.
6:58. All right.